Thank you, everyone. The Board of Education is back from exec session. And that will move us into agenda item 4, communications. And up first is Lauren Smith.
I am here tonight representing the Mentoring Scholarship Foundation. So January is National Mentor Month, and we are thanking millions of Americans who invest in the lives of our nation's youth as volunteer mentors. 320 of those mentors mentor in the Champaign Public Schools. Still, we're always recruiting more. On behalf of the Mentoring Scholarship Foundation Board, I thank the Unit 4 School Board and the district for your continued support of the One-to-One Mentor Program. The Scholarship Foundation Board awards scholarships to all our eligible graduating seniors. Eligibility requirements include 3-year participation in the program and enrollment in post-secondary education. Since this past August, the Foundation Board has awarded $58,000 to 35 graduates. Currently, the board pays $1,000 a semester to the student's bursary account for the first 2 semesters of college and $2,000 for the 3rd and 4th semesters. The scholarship can be used at any 2- or 4-year school, trade school, or certificate program. Additional money can be requested if a student attends a 4-year college. One of our past mentees who graduated from Central in 2019 interned at Google last summer and will graduate from the U of I in May. He said, "I am very thankful for the CU One-to-One Mentor Scholarship that has allowed me to maintain my focus on my academic and professional goals instead of financials. It has allowed me to switch from surviving to now empowering others." A 2017 Centennial graduate received a fashion design degree from University of Texas. She is currently working for a clothing designer in Chicago. Her mom recently told me what a difference the mentor made for her daughter and how the scholarship money helped her daughter to attend college. Although the scholarship makes a big difference to our students, the biggest difference is made in the lives of the mentors and mentees that participate in the program. As one 12th grade mentee said, "Every time we meet, I grow more." Thank you for your continued support of the mentor program.
Thank you, Lauren. And you can visit CU One-to-One Mentoring if you are interested in joining the mentoring program. That'll leave us, second communication is from Dr. Boozer, and I will turn this over to you.
Thank you. And good evening. And Happy New Year. Can't believe it. We're in 2023 already. So go ahead with our, can you hear me? It's on. Okay. Hello.
There you go.
Okay. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right. First, I would just like to say we are excited that we are launching our new website today. The new Unit 4 website is up, it's live. We hope that this new site will be more user-friendly for our families, our staff, and for our patrons. We are making sure we are highlighting our history in Unit 4. And there's a section on the website that is for the history. And this is crucial because it's difficult for us to move forward if we don't really realize where we're coming from or where we've been. So a perfect example of this you'll find on our website is the consent decree and the mandate to put the schools of choice in place to address the inequities that were prevalent in our past and that are yet still here today. We included the historical perspective on Unit 4's journey regarding the schools of choice, as told by Dr. Amos Lee at one of our previous board meetings, so that is there. We have included our strategic plan update and our journey toward excellence so everyone can see what we have planned and accomplished in educating all of our students in Unit 4. And in particular, the question and conversation has been around what are we doing for our Black and brown students, so that information is there as well. We're still updating the site and the departments and making some necessary tweaks. And so there also want to remind everyone that there's going to be a phone app that's going to be coming soon. So you'll be able to get to the website and manage it as well from your phones as well, from your devices. But just a little bit of what's going on that website. And I know the conversation was to me, do you realize where we've been and the history? And I had a hard time finding that on our website. So we were able to find an archive. And if you get a chance, go and take a look at it. It is absolutely beautiful. It's amazing to know who we are, where we came from, and where we're on our way to. So I just wanted to give a shout out to our communication department for a job well done on getting our website up, our new website. We also want to say and give a shout out to Ms. Kabuti. She was named our News Gazette Teacher of the Week while we were off on our winter break. She was named Teacher of the Week, and she's an amazing educator teaching first graders at Carrie Busey. So we want to let her know that we appreciate everything that she does and thank her for being a Unit 4, Champaign Unit 4 champion. Job well done. Yes. Also want to say kudos to TNL, our Teaching and Learning Department, and our Equity Department for a phenomenal Unit 4 convocation on January 4th. For those of you who don't know, we began our new school year with our teachers and administrators, staff, certified staff, everyone that we could possibly get into the room at the let me get it right, the Virginia Theater, which I had never been there before, and is absolutely breathtaking. It's beautiful. And so the staff there was amazing as well. But we began the new year on January 4th on a high and exciting note with Avid's national presenter, Patrick Briggs, at our convocation last week. The amazing professional development opportunity focused on how Unit 4 educators can transform learning and life outcomes for our students. And just as a reminder, relationships make rigor possible and will dismantle both the opportunity gap and the expectation gap. Those are the two things that are prevalent, and they lead to the achievement gap. So he talked about that, and you can see some of the pictures here. It was wonderful. He got a standing ovation. He captivated everyone. There was a lot of cheering, a lot of interaction. It was amazing. And also shout out to all the administrative assistants from Windsor who helped make sure that we had coffee and bagels for our teachers and all of our staff who were there. So job well done. It was something to come together. And I had to get dropped off because parking was kind of limited. And it was awesome. My husband said he dropped me off, and he said he was watching the teachers and the staff coming in. It was like the first day of school. He said the smiles and the excitement. He said, I don't know what you all are about to do, but you could see that they were appreciative. And so I just want to say to all of Unit 4 educators who are able to be a part of that, you're worth it, and our students are going to be better because of your time and effort that you put into that amazing day of learning. And it's not the end, we're going to continue on with this work and our focus and our hope to get to Avid district-wide. Also, just want to remind everyone, attend today, achieve tomorrow. So we have a big attendance push. So it's a great day when all of our students are at school. So we're asking everyone to make sure that your child is in attendance. It's one of the most powerful predictors of academic success, and we need every Unit 4 student at school every day for the entire school day. So attend today, achieve tomorrow. January is our National Mentoring Month, so become a mentor. So thank you, Lauren, for your presentation on today. So just please consider becoming a mentor for the CU One-to-One program. You can visit our website, or you can go to cu1to1.org for more information. We need you. Our students need you. If we want to have a strong community, we can do this together. Volunteers and mentors get the job done. With that being said, I want to also go with I Read, I Count, improving our child's world 1 hour at a time. Tutors are needed for the spring 2023 I Read program. The information is here. It will also be housed on our website. You can address the achievement gap, opportunity gap, I like to say, and the expectation gap by volunteering 1 hour a week for 7 weeks to help change a child's life. And the website is there. So if you go to that website, you can learn more about how to access the application. Our students need you, and Champaign Unit 4 and our community, we need you. So consider being an iRead, iCount volunteer. And with that being said, I just want to say thank you. I'm not going to go into a whole lot because I'm excited. I can't wait to hear from our schools today because it's really about our students and what's happening in our buildings. And so I'm really excited about tonight's agenda. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Boozer. That will move us into item 5, which is our action agenda, new business. And first up is item A, the administrative appointment, the Assistant Director of Transportation. I'll turn this over to you, Mr. Kleber.
All right, good evening. The position of Assistant Director of Transportation was advertised through our website and other recruiting websites. 2 candidates were interviewed by a team of administration and classified staff representatives. 1 candidate returned for a second interview with district administration. I'm going to ask her to stand and come forward if she's... Ms. Danielle "Danny" Glasgow was selected as the most outstanding candidate. Ms. Glasgow began her transportation career in September 2005 as a bus driver for Freeport School District in Freeport, Illinois, and has served there for the past 16 years. During this time, she's worked as a bus driver, dispatcher, and lead trainer. In 2018, she also took a position as a state school bus instructor for the Regional Office of Education No. 8 in Freeport. Ms. Glasgow is currently an office manager for Freeport School District and will leave that position to join us as one of our new Assistant Directors of Transportation. Ms. Glasgow has extensive transportation experience and expertise in safety and training, dispatch and routing, and other related areas that are essential for the district at this time. Her appointment will ensure we continue to move transportation forward in a positive way to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of our department. And we are recommending approval of Ms. Danny Glasgow as one of our Assistant Directors of Transportation, effective January 30th.
Thank you, Mr. Kleber. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Oh, wait, go ahead and say it again in the microphone.
Second.
Thank you. Soteropoulos Vasquez. Tammy, would you, any questions, comments? Tammy, would you call roll?
Ms. Soteropoulos?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez?
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Shannon?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Congratulations, Ms. Glasgow. You're welcome to say a few words.
I just want to thank you all for this amazing opportunity, and I look forward to getting to know each and every one of you and working with all of you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Welcome to the community. That will move us to item B, the administrative appointment, the Assistant Director of Kids Plus, Mr. Kleber.
All right, the position of Assistant Director of Kids Plus was advertised through our website and other recruiting websites. 6 candidates were interviewed by a team of district administration and support staff representatives, and 3 candidates returned for a Level 2 interview. As previously shared with the board, after reviewing the staffing structures currently in place and looking at the growth of the Kids Plus program in recent years, the superintendent decided to split the position into 2. And so we have 2 candidates tonight. And one of them, the first one, is Ms. Christine Borman as one of our most outstanding candidates. I'm going to ask her to stand and come forward. Ms. Borman's professional career, and I apologize in advance for mispronouncing some of these things. Ms. Borman's professional career includes 2 years as a child and youth welfare specialist at AWO AJS in Nordhausen, Germany, from 2011 through 2013. In October 2017, she accepted the position of social worker and supervisor with Mansfeld Lebeke Stiftung in Wolfenbüttel, Germany. I practiced with her on the phone. I hope I did okay. She held this position for 3 years. Beginning September 2020, Christine joined Oscar Kammer School in Quedlinburg, Germany, as site manager and counselor. In June 2021, Ms. Borman became a case manager with Child Welfare and Family Services for the German government. Beginning June 2022, Christine joined Rosecrance Health Network here in Champaign as a residential team leader, and she will leave that position to join Unit 4 as one of our Assistant Directors of Kids Plus. Christine holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Health and Social Services with a minor in Systemic Concepts and Social Health Care from Nordhausen University of Applied Science. Ms. Borman's experience working with children and adults, her social skills, years in social services, and leadership make her a great addition to help our team help train, motivate, and support our Kids Plus staff. And we are recommending approval of Ms. Christine Borman into one of our Assistant Director of Kids Plus positions starting tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Kleber. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Soteropoulos Brown. Tammy, would you call roll?
Ms. Soteropoulos,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong,
Yes.
Dr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Shannon,
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Congratulations, Ms. Borman. You're welcome.
Excited to bring my passion to the Unit 4 School District and to the Kids Plus program. Thank you so much.
Impressive pronunciations, Ken.
I did not take much German at all.
That'll move us to item C, administrative appointment, the Assistant Director of Kids Plus. Back to you, Mr. Kleber.
All right, as I previously shared, the same details about all the position, all the hiring and all of that. And our other most outstanding candidate was Miss Arabella Ramirez, and I'm going to ask her to step forward as well. Ms. Ramirez's professional career began in June 2018 when she joined Heritage Behavioral Health Center in Decatur, Illinois as a community support specialist. In June 2019, she accepted the position of high school special education teacher with Circle Academy in Urbana. Ms. Ramirez will leave that position to join Unit 4 as our other Assistant Director of Kids Plus. Arabella holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Psychology with a minor in Women and Gender Studies from ISU. As an undergraduate student, she served as Freshman Orientation Training and Planning Specialist and Reservations Coordinator for Illinois State. Arabella's experience will make her a great addition to our team to help support our students' academic and social-emotional learning. She will help bridge the gap between the traditional school day and our Kids Plus program. And we are recommending approval of Arabella Ramirez, also starting tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Kleber. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Soteropoulos Vasquez. Tammy, would you call roll?
Ms. Soteropoulos,
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez,
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong,
Yes.
Dr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Shannon.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Congratulations, Ms. Ramirez. Welcome to Unit 4.
I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I was raised by a single dad, and so I know firsthand the impact that after-school programs have, and I look forward to serving this community.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the family. That will move us to item 6, which is reports, new business. Item A is school spotlight, Southside Elementary School and Garden Hills Elementary School. Turn this over to you, Dr. Taylor.
Sure. I am so excited to kick off our second semester. We'll be doing several of these, and teams, you guys can move up if you'd like and start getting in your positions while I introduce you. Not sure which people you're bringing up with you. So throughout the second semester, each school will provide the Board of Education with an update highlighting progress related to their school improvement plan, their school improvement teams, and really closely relating that really to your work 2 to 3 years ago on the strategic plan priority 4, which was the creation of the school improvement leadership teams and having school improvement plans at each building. So we have Dr. Fuller here from Garden Hills, and we have Christian Mahone from Southside, and they decided to do theirs kind of together. We let that be an open thing for them to do, and I know they have several people here with them, and I'm going to let them just take over and show you their greatness.
There we go. Good evening. It has been a great day in Unit 4 today. My name is Dr. Asia Fuller, and I am privileged to serve as the principal of Garden Hills Elementary School. I am joined tonight in leadership by my assistant principals, Ms. Samantha Turner and Ms. Jacqueline Douglas. And I am so excited to share more about what is happening in our schools.
2. All right, there we go. It is on.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Christian Mahone, and I am the principal at Southside Elementary. This evening, I am accompanied by my assistant principal, Amy Marone, and I'm also accompanied by my culture and climate chair, Glenn Fernandez. Hey, y'all. Without further ado, I'd like to turn the floor over to Dr. Fuller, who will begin our school spotlight and our presentations.
Oh, I have to click. All right. We begin tonight by discussing instructional excellence. Tonight I want to talk to you because under the leadership of Dr. Taylor, each of our schools, elementary schools and middle schools and high schools, were encouraged to review their leadership structures. It was a systemic endeavor to ensure that we're focused on every action and every result that comes from those actions. The structure is meant to provide agency and voice for multiple stakeholders. Tonight, I want to acknowledge my school improvement leadership team members and share what each of them is tasked to do. And so without further ado, they are joining me tonight. We have the chair of our culturally relevant pedagogy team, Ms. Alyssa Mayer. She is tasked with employing an equity lens to examine curriculum and instruction. We have Ms. Brianna Agudelo, who is the chair of our data team. And that team is tasked with examining our school-wide data to help lead us in our achievement journey. We have the chair of our K-5 student learning and engagement team, and that is Ms. Lauren Thomas. And she helps us examine our curriculum and helps us look closely at the pedagogy that is happening in our building. We have the chair of our Culture and Climate Committee, who is not here tonight, but she is watching, Ms. Amanda Moore, and she is tasked with examining the school-wide culture and our student, staff, and community engagement. Also on our team is our CFT representative, Mr. Dominic Pagliara, who is tasked with being the representative for teacher voice and perspective on that team, and we're very grateful for him as well. Our district recently contracted with Focus Schools, and under that work, we have a central goal of thinking about our instruction and what we are doing in a singular way. And so with that came a Focus School statement. Our team looked at our data and we decided that we needed to focus on collaboration, inquiry, and feedback. That's what our data showed. And because that is what we are working on, our teacher learning focus and what we're focused on throughout our time is Garden Hill Scholars are inquisitive collaborators who reflect on feedback in order to increase literary and mathematical comprehension. It guides our work in everything that we do. We also wanted our students to understand what we're doing, so we communicated with them, and we want them to be able to elicit the response to you when they're asked. Theirs is a little bit more catchy. They have a chant. It's, I don't know if you know Busta Rhymes, but touch it, read it, learn it, teach it, everybody talk about it. And so we want to let everyone know that all of this work is rooted in the strategic plan and the anti-racism resolution that we're doing. And so you will see in our presentation and hear us say what this work is directly aligned to, and this aligns to our strategic plan priority for organizational alignment.
See that thing? Oh, I got you. You got me? Oh, okay, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, continuing with the tone of talking about my instructional leadership teams. At Southside Elementary, we began embarking upon the work of restructuring our committees back in 2019 at the beginning of my tenure as the principal at Southside Elementary. And one of the things I recognize, I'm a system person, is that we had one too many committees, and our staff was being stretched thin. So as a result of that, with the direction of Dr. Taylor, one of the initiatives that I began, one of my very first initiatives as a principal, was to really restructure the way that we are running our committees over at Southside. So Dr. Taylor's guidance, she has some experience as a high school principal. She gave me a format that allowed for me to bring my team together in a collaborative manner. One of the things that was the most important, I think, was the most powerful for the work that we oversaw was the idea behind teacher voice in their feedback. So once we undertook that process and really recognized what the initiatives were for our school building, we came up with 4 key themes that popped up, that continuously popped up. That was professional learning that was led by the staff. That was looking at things through an equity lens, which is our equity committee. We also looked at our professional learning, and we looked at our SEL. So that's what we began off with. And coincidentally, the following school year, our strategic plan came out. And just as Dr. Fuller alluded to in Priority 4, one of those strategies talk about implementing a school improvement leadership structure team, as well as having a school improvement plan. So as a result of that, we was able to pretty much kind of have a jump start and get ready to facilitate some of that work. So as we moved on with my first SIP team, the first 2 years, we had accomplished a lot of initiatives, which we plan to continue with this new SIP team that we have this school year. So as a result of doing some reflecting upon how we continue to move the work forward in relations to our school improvement plan and our initiatives, I was always told that sometimes less is more. So we dwindled down our 4 committees to 3 committees, which you see projected up there on the screen. So you will see that our student learning, I'm a little cheesy, but we are the superstar. So I got that superstar right smack in the middle. But it's also in gold because it's one of our colors. But student learning is served as the catalyst and the foundation for what we do in school buildings. So our student learning committees is really in charge of examining our curriculum and finding ways to increase the engagement, but also looking at things through a pedagogical standpoint and looking at students' metacognition skills as well. The student learning initiatives are really serve as the foundation and the anchor for the additional work that the equity committee does, as well as the culture and climate. My student learning chair is Anders Flustrom, who's a 3rd grade teacher who could not be with us here tonight. Then we have our culture and our climate committee. Mr. Fernandez, our school social worker, is here. Thank you. I appreciate you showing up this evening. And that committee is really in charge of looking at the culture of our building and the climate. So when we talk about the culture, we are talking about the adult measures, the adult behaviors and actions. And when we talk about the climate, we are looking more so or less at our discipline practices, our PBIS, and all the initiatives that we are braiding together. And that works concurrently with what our student learning committee does. And then last but not least, we also have our equity committee, which really employs an equity lens, so primarily looking at how to close the achievement gap, so we then could create that nexus on how in terms that we can close the opportunity gap as well. So I'm wrapped it up by talking about our focus school statement. Our focus school statement is at Southside Elementary, all students would demonstrate their comprehension through speaking and writing. And this was decided based on looking at our data, MAP data, IAR data, and formative assessments that we have. Can't be as cool as Garden Hill, so we ain't got no catchy kid-friendly one. My staff and I actually landed on it this afternoon. So ours is readers, leaders, and seceders. I can show what I know with my voice, my writing, and my actions.
That's good. Next, we want to talk a little bit about equity. Over the past 3 years, under the direction of Dr. Angela Ward, we've really focused on the meaning of equity versus equality and understanding how implicit biases leads to inequitable practices. This year, we really wanted to look directly at our instruction, and we decided to use AVID as our instructional framework that will prioritize voice, student voice, and centers the needs of the child. Our journey this year began with our school-wide adoption of the big 3, which is, you'll hear me say this quite a few times, collaboration, feedback, and inquiry. We sent a team to the Avid Summer Institute to cement their understandings of the Avid program. And this week, we had the privilege, I know he came to the district-wide convocation, but we got to host Mr. Patrick Briggs in our own building. He drinks Diet Coke, by the way. He helped us understand that we all had the structures needed present. And we spent a lot of time doing foundation work at Garden Hills. So to hear that was reaffirming. We really love it. And he gave us insight on how to lift our rigor in our educational spaces. And so that's where we're focusing our work, lifting rigor. We're going to be preparing our next cohort of staff to attend the next summer Avid Institute. And this work that we're doing, using Avid as our vehicle, is embedded directly in Priority 1, Instructional Excellence. I don't click very often.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Continue with the theme of equity. Over the last 2 years, we had the opportunity and the privilege to be able to participate in professional learning on the equity topic through modules that was offered through Val DeVarburn and her consulting company. And as a result of participating in our work and engaging in those conversations with our staff and some of the initiatives that we undertook over at Southside, we continue to talk about ways that we can extend that work coming into this school year. So one of the things that we always talk about is this idea behind shared leadership or shared responsibility and shared accountability. And one of the things that my teachers voiced within having those dialogues and those conversations was they wanted to know how to approach our students and how to work with our students through a culturally responsive lens. And they was also talking about ways that they can add tools to their toolbox in terms of working with students and how to engage students in a positive manner. But in addition to that, but also figuring out ways that we can empower our students to see the harm that was caused and some of their behaviors that in turn can lead to some of their academic success in terms of cleaning it up. So as a result of that, my staff, asked for professional development around restorative practices. And I just thought that was spot on because I also come from a background of restorative practices. But instead of me leading that work, I was able to tap into a community partnership with Jorge Elvier, who is also a former educator as well as he works for the Bureau of Education and Research, and he's currently working with the University of Illinois, administering some restorative practice training there as well. I spoke to Mr. Thomas about this initiative I wanted to try in terms of piloting, and I was also given his blessing to do that, so I appreciate you, OT. So in the midst of trying to figure out how we can connect these initiatives that we have, I have 4 key themes and pillars. So one of those things talk about teaching and instructional excellence. Do we have strong tier 1 instruction? Are we differentiating our instruction and things of that nature? Are we collaborating with our colleagues to find best instructional practices? Then we also talk about how to positively engage with students. I come from that background where, if you don't have a relationship with a child, if the child don't trust you, then the academic piece doesn't come in hand at that point. So I've charged my teachers this year. One of the things I keep telling them is like, hey, talk to your kids about any and everything besides school, and that way you get a chance to see the child as a whole child and as an individual, and that way they can draw the connection between what's going on at home and how those things connect into the school building as well. And then one of the things I also discussed was one of my key pillars is doing things with intentionality, whether that's family outreach, whether that's, us really looking at how we're planning and how we're delivering our instructions across the systems. And then we're looking at how we establish continuity across the board. So as a result of that, we've been undertaking this training starting last school year back in May, and the teachers have found it extremely powerful and began to implement not only the restorative practices in their classrooms, but we're also teaching our students some of those languages and how to interact and engage with one another. And if you would permit me the opportunity, if I could see that one of the testimonials, I got 3 testimonials up there, but one I want to read is the very last one, which is students live up to the expectations that you set. It is incredibly to be given the professional autonomy, which allows students the time and opportunity to create a genuine, loving, and collaborative environment. Students and teachers alike are collectively problem solving, standing up for each other, and creating an environment to become lifelong learners. And it's really powerful when I get an opportunity to interact with the students at playground, during a lunch, them using this language like they problem solving. And one thing that we are recognizing and we are seeing on a consistent basis is the need for students to not come to adults to solve all their problems, but they are using the language and they are actually coming up to each other and say, hey, that's not nice. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. But also one of the most powerful things that I'm seeing is the kids holding themselves accountable in terms of repairing the harm, not only to their classmates, but even if they causing harm with their teachers. They are practicing how to apologize. They are practicing saying, this is what I did wrong, and this is how I can move forward and do that. So by our equity work is really establishing, making sure that we are using this restorative practice, that we are bringing together our behavior intervention teams and relying on one another so that we are decreasing the school-to-prison pipeline.
Next, we're going to talk a little bit about data and accountability, and heavy on the accountability. Our summative designation for this year's school report card is commendable, but that does not mean that we still don't have a great deal of work to do. Starting off with positives, we have our IAR data, which shows that we have 17% of students who moved out of that did not meet standards. In our science assessment, we have increased student performance levels there as well. But I really wanted to look at what the students needed. And so we have at our hands our panorama data. And after further dissection, especially in the last issuance of the panorama survey, I pulled that data out and was able to extrapolate that 57% of our students indicated they have a growth in mindset. That means positive attitude. I want to just jump down on how we address that, because that's not high enough for me. None of these numbers are. We really centered our work in our SEL morning circle, really thinking about our big three that we live by in terms of our culture and climate and PBIS work, which is stopping and thinking, being empathetic, and being persistent, right? What do those mean? And how can we practice those so that we can become better at them? How do they help shape and grow our minds? The lowest number on there is that 45%, that strength and self-efficacy. That's their belief. That's the student's belief that they have the behaviors needed to meet their academic goals. And that, to me, is really concerning. We did a lot of work this year to really think about how school is for the students at Garden Hills. We set up our 4th and 5th graders in houses, which is simulated like Franklin Middle School, their feeder school. It's meant to provide a great deal of community, allow collaboration in their house, a little healthy competition with one another. We really want them to be a community of learners. We also focus on goal setting in our Tier 1 instruction. We realized as a staff we weren't doing that. We're teaching, but students don't understand what they're working towards. So we had to stretch that out and make that plain for them, which is really, really important. What am I working toward? And building background knowledge through field trips was critical. Many of our students have, as you see in the picture there at the University of Illinois, most of those students in that picture had never been to the University of Illinois, and they're in the 5th grade. To me, that is not good enough. I mean, you're down the street from the university. So let's build your background knowledge. We talk a lot about a college, but what does that actually mean? What does it look like? What does it feel like? They went there, they made their presence known, and so they had a great time. They ate more than they needed to eat. And then 64% demonstrated strength in self-management. That's being able to monitor their own behavior. No one else monitoring that for them. Monitor and then manage. And so we continue to look at our accountability responses. We hold ourselves accountable as a school team. We wanted to increase our student voice, so we made sure that we implemented a student council. We want them to be able to contribute to the decisions that are made. We are not painting our walls pink, don't worry. But we want them to have voice. We looked at our PBIS systems in our school. We wanted to make sure that we had established tiers and that each student was getting their needs met in each tiered system. We looked at our mentoring partnerships, and we've really grown in our mentoring partnerships at Garden Hills. It feels so good after COVID to have so many individuals coming into our building and playing games and being close with one another. So that is always a great thing. Strengthen Tier 1 instruction, and that's the crux of what we need to do, is make sure that what is happening in the classroom day to day is rigorous, engaging, and exciting for our students, and that they are helping to lead the work in those rooms. And so this work is embedded, if you look closely at our anti-racism resolution, it's really about creating a racially and culturally relevant curriculum for our students, and we are doing that every day by allowing our students to be part of the voice in that.
Following it up. All right, we are also, dang, Dr. Fuller, okay. I got it. All right. Yeah, so Southside, we're also commendable. We commendable all around, right? Yeah. So I just pulled out a few pieces of data. So one of the data that I also wanted to allude to was my Panorama survey. Just to go back to one of the initiatives, that's one of our front of our Build initiative this school year, the next year moving forth. So one of those data points shows that 75% of our students report favorably to the student-teacher relationships that they have. I know that my staff is probably tired of me talking about relationships, you know, but that's what I keep talking about, relationships. And they really started to take ownership of that and to take over their work. So that number right there is very reflective of the work and initiatives that we are inputting this school year. From our last set of IAR data shows that 52% of our students had growth in math and 38% showed growth in IAR. So again, we like to see progression over perfection, but we still also have a lot of work to do as well in terms of being sure that we are closing that achievement gap, ensuring that we are providing opportunity and resources to our families so that they are able to do well successfully in school as well. So some of the accountability pieces that we have in place and recognizing what our school data look like is that, of course, you know, we want to increase the percentage of students who are making those benchmarks throughout the years. So we will be looking at trend line data and then creating a goal, a measurable and obtainable goal for our students. And then we're just saying that we could go nowhere but up from there. In addition to that, we are really looking at having strong Tier 1 instruction, looking at what those mini lessons look like, looking at how the rigor of questioning, the assessments that are used, and things of that nature. Some of the work that my last school improvement team did was they created a walkthrough tool where they had the opportunity, the teachers created themselves, where they have opportunity to observe their colleagues. And we really based that walkthrough tool off of using Marzano's high yield strategies. And one of those strategies that we talked about was providing timely feedback, but we also talking about how we're using that feedback so that students can understand what the next step is so they can continue to move that needle forward. So we also have opportunity to talk about how we are differentiating our instructions, not only in our small group instruction, but how we are utilizing our interventionists to really hone in on those kids who fall below the 20th percentile in our MAP assessments, but also use it like anecdotal notes and formative assessments from the classroom based on the curriculum and how we can continue to monitor the progress of those students. So some of our most intensive students are receiving assessments every 2 weeks just to be sure that they are continuing to move along the pendulum. And then last but not least, we continue to have these rich conversations at our grade level collaboration meetings where we're really honing in on our targeted students and talking about constructive ways that we can continue to build in research-driven items and research-driven techniques and strategies and curriculum that's going to really help to move our students over to us, those benchmarks that we would like to see.
You did great.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, I told Dr. Fuller I'll try to behave myself on this slide. But our next one is talking about family and community engagement, and I'm just super excited because I'm definitely a sports guy as we speak about it. So one of the things that we're always having discussions with, not only in our SIL team with my assistant principal, but just having informal conversations with my staff and also the families that come to Southside for our events is how do we find more constructive ways to bring in families, but more specifically the ones who have historically been absent from school events, family teacher conferences, and things of that nature. So we just kind of got creative and trying to figure out ways, think outside the box and think of initiatives and events and activities that we know that parents have a strong liking towards and some way that we can bring them in.
This practice slide. Okay, so When we think about our families and we think about what happened after the pandemic, we really needed a reinvigoration of how to get our families back into school. There was a lot of hesitancy, especially from families who have been historically disenfranchised. And the one thing that we know is that when families have students who have active participation, whether in an academic or extracurricular activity, they will be there. And boy, have they shown up. We don't have enough seats. And so, Mr. Mahone had experience facilitating an intramural program in his previous district. And one day we were all talking, and I had already said, like, I really want to do an intramural team. And so, great minds think alike. This program has gotten off the ground with collaboration from a few principals. I am just so excited. As I said, it is wall to wall packed. So much so, I think I have to call the fire department one time. I was like, come on, y'all, go home. But what we've seen at Garden Hills, we combine this and through our magnet program into an academic endeavor and a athletic endeavor. So the academic component is open to all students in all grade levels. They, after school for an hour, they are able to go in, work on homework, work on academic tasks. They then, our K through 2 students are fortunate enough to participate in the intramural activity. It's just non-competitive. And then our students in grades 3 through 5 participate in the activity and they get to compete. It is a great opportunity. We have our students really delving into social emotional learning, teamwork, communication, collaboration, yes, persistence. Our team, Ms. Douglas does not want you to tell our score, but good, bad, ugly. We are 0 and 3. It's okay though. So they have also learned how to work through adversity and work toward continuous improvement. Thank you.
It's okay. My team won it too. So, we gotta win on the board though. So we play tomorrow. Y'all want to come support Southside Superstars. We just really excited to be able to offer this opportunity to our families. And that's another one of the things we talk about, closing the opportunity gap, because we know that some of our students can't go to an AAU team or play at the Y. And they all talking about, can we play basketball? Can we play basketball? So like you said, great minds think alike. And we was just having a conversation about it. I'm like, I'm going to do it, So I talked to Dr. Boozer about it. She's like, go ahead, why not? Make sure we get the babies there. So we was really looking at this through a lens of course, increasing the engagement from our families. But just like Dr. Fuller alluded to, they are students before they are athletes. So we were always looking at these things through a SEL's lens. But that's also an opportunity for us to be like, hey, Mom, you here? How can we help you to get here to some of these school events? Looking at the academic piece and things of that nature. So one of the things that we have started to see is the increased academic engagement. Our students recognize that you can't come to practice, you can't participate in the games unless you are doing your work. We see you. We in your classroom spaces, and your teacher will let us know what's up. We are also talking. It's also being used as a means to make sure that we are decreasing behavior referrals and making sure that they are modeling the appropriate behavior, because this is a privilege. And I've had lots of positive feedback from parents. Like, for years we've been trying to get the elementary schools to do this. So as Dr. Fuller was saying, the gyms are packed, people are excited, the kids are stoked, and those pictures you see up there is actually Garden Hills faces Southside. We gave y'all first loss, so it's okay.
It's okay.
We play y'all again soon.
Yes, you do.
All right.
We'll be there.
So that aligns to strategic plan priority number 3, which is a family and community engagement. More specifically, making sure that we are doing continuous outreach, more specifically to our Black and our brown families.
I do want to say that we anticipate growth for this. We're looking at, I can't call it track, it's running club or running sports or whatever we call it. They're going to run. And we're excited. And so we look forward to our next one. We'll also have kickball, because I found out that children don't know how to play kickball anymore. And I was like, a lost art form. So I'm excited about that. I know, right?
And last but not least, some of the other continuous engagement that we're doing at Southside is kind of like two facets, where we're trying to continue to find ways to engage our families, but also finding ways to engage our staff as well. So another one of those things that I charged my teachers with was positively engaging with students, which is one of the reasons why I facilitated the basketball program, but also started the student council as well, because I want our students to understand the significance and the impact of being able to do community service around the city of Champaign, but also having that sense of gratitude towards helping someone else that's out of need. So that's going to be pretty much the work that's served as the foundation for our student council. Something that my assistant principal and I are going to also initiative that's new this year has been and partaking in these what we call the principal roundtables, really bringing parents to the table to talk about their experience as parents of Southside Elementary and how we can continue to find ways to increase our outreach in order for them to be able to find Southside a welcoming environment. We have a litany of family events. We partnered with our PTA that's coming up here in the spring, such as our family reading night, our science night, where we partner with U of I. We actually have a cultural event that is coming up here in the month of February and March. In addition to our Napa Day event, which is coming up February 13th. Yes, we're excited for that. That's going to be happening. And then we continue to work with our volunteer program, where we having volunteers come in and read with students, helping them with math and things of that nature, and also have mentors who are working with our students outside of just the academic piece as well. In terms of trying to have continuous engagement with our staff, I'm also providing opportunities for them to be able to participate in some professional development outside of what the district offers. And then we're also working on some field trips here for the spring. And last but not least, I know this whole city probably knows Southside was gifted the opportunity to go to the Chicago Bulls game. So shameless plug, we are looking for any and all donations, so because this costs money. So if you would like to support us, and Dr. Taylor, I got you. So, but yeah, so these are some of the things that we are continuing to do. Dr. Boozer Gavin, the whole board Gavin, that's what's up. So that connects with Priority 3, which is also our family and our community engagement, which is directly tied to Strategies 1 and 5.
That was a shameless plug. I don't have J-HUD, but we are always forward at Garden Hills. And so in terms of continuous engagement, we are committed to looking at the continual hiring of qualified, committed educators in our building. That is our number one priority, and we will continue to do so through the coming months. To ensure that all of our teachers are AVID trained, and we're looking at the next cohort. To go to the Summer Institute. Also, we want to look at our professional learning for our staff. We have a lot of staff, and I don't want to take this for granted, who come in and they have ambitions. They want to do other things. They want to become administrators and teacher leaders. And so listening to them and thinking about ways that we can support them in their professional learning and growth is really important, because they may sit in my chair one day. They may sit in your chair one day. I don't know, but we want to foster that learning. We have an endeavor to increase our community service, in both on the part of our students and our staff. Garden Hills, we receive things a lot, but we also want to know we're committed to serving our community. And that's what school is about. We give too. And so we're looking at that. We're exploring our new community partnerships. I think some of those partnerships over the course of the pandemic, waned out. And so we want to make sure that we establish new partnerships. One of those is really examining the pathways to extend to elementary school. And one of those, we're in preliminary talks with the Carle School of Medicine at the University of Illinois to think about summer programming. What does that look like in an elementary building, right? And to afford students an opportunity. And last but not least, we want to appreciate our staff as much as possible, as often as possible. I just want to ask my staff who came to the board meeting with me, I know they're still here, to just stand. And I just want to say thank you to each of you for being on our leadership team. I want to thank all the staff at Garden Hills who continuously, they lift every day. I mean, they lift every day. And I want to leave you with this thought. I just want to thank all of the substitutes who have helped us at Garden Hills. Without them, we would not have been able to do what we have done this year, and they are working hard. They are teaching. They are not just there as warm bodies. They are standing in the gap for us. I especially want to dedicate this board presentation to Ms. Penny Allen, who was one of our subs in our building. I asked her to come into our building not knowing the extent of her illness. She is now on hospice, but as an act of love and her dedication and service to us in Garden Hills, that was her last service activity, and I am eternally grateful for her. Thank you.
I just have to say thank you to both Mr. Mahone and to Dr. Fuller Hamilton for being the first to step up and do this. Draft, stop. Get her. But seriously, because it is very important that the board hears the amazing things that are happening in our schools. In spite of what the negative narrative may be, I know what we see every day, and I know what you and your staff do every day. So it's very important to all of us that people hear that no matter where you attend, you're going to get a quality education led by people such as yourselves, leaders who love and are passionate about the work you do. So thank you for choosing us. We appreciate you more than you ever know, and the rest that are coming behind you, they got a tough act to follow. You all were awesome, so thank you. Keep being choosy about who you put in front of our students, Dr. Hamilton, Fuller Hamilton. Keep being choosy. Thank you.
I'll add something real quick. House of Bentucci for life. But Brianna, you had one of the best fifth grade meetings I've been to in a while. I appreciate you. You know how to run a meeting. And Dr. Fuller, that was the best assembly I have seen in quite a while. You set expectations and the students will listen. Thank you all for what you do, seriously. One more thing. Oh, he left. One of the students said that in the Southside versus Garden Hills game, they were playing the kids from the suburbs. I love those kids.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Yeah. Yeah, you needed to come
He
back.
said
for
we were
that.
playing the kids from the suburbs. Yes. Right.
South Side, right? South Side. Yeah.
And they're cheering into the parking lot.
Joy.
Joy is in the room. That was awesome, Dr. Bruiser.
I do think if you are thinking about a mentor and you pick up a basketball at either of these campuses, I picked up a basketball as a mentor at Southside, and I then played basketball with 11 children at paces I do not keep playing basketball. Be assured, there's a great competition to be done out there, and these, what you just heard tonight is only a glimpse of it, but you can get a lot of fulfillment in these moments. They're still cackling out there, so why don't we just let them cackle?
Yeah,
Just wanted to share it with you.
came in with some joy and now we're going. Okay. I love that you're bringing this to us. And they left, but my one question will be for you to take back to them is how can we support them more? And I think that is a continual, that will be always my question when they come to the table. How can we support you more?
I'm sorry, I didn't think they'd get up and leave so fast.
They don't
realize there's
they don't need us.
There's other things, but anyway, thank you for receiving them as you did. Of course you did, because they're wonderful and they're doing a very good job. But I will share what you just said.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. That's a tough act to follow, folks. Up next is item B, which is our demographer study update, and I will turn this over to you, Dr. Boozer and Mr. Thomas.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go over to Mr. Thomas.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead, and they're not, Cooperative Strategies is not here in person today. They're virtual, so they'll be presenting from a virtual. So they're in the queue.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we are happy to welcome David Sturtz and Karen. They are both here with us virtually. They will be in person for the January 23rd Board of Education meeting. So tonight, they will provide an update on the survey data that we sent out a couple weeks ago before the holiday break, and they will talk about the results from options 2 and 4. David, I'll turn it over.
Good evening, Orlando, members of the board, and Superintendent Boozer. It's good, members of the community, good to be here. Thank you for allowing us to join you virtually and for setting us up as the people who have the tough act to follow. And I'm not going to try to compete with that, nor could I. But okay, so with that, I'm going to go over review again on sort of the process to get here. Many of us are quite familiar with our path here. And the new content for this evening will be review of the December survey results regarding the juxtaposing the old scenario 2 on the cluster model and the new scenario 4, looking at revisions to the current model. We'll then go into what is our team's recommendation, the supporting data as to why, and then conclude with time for questions, answers, discussion. So we'll get right to it. So we will go through, as mentioned, the scenarios 2 and 4 and review the previous surveys, relating those to the most recent survey in December, our recommendations and next steps. So as you're familiar, our project was slated into 2 main phases, namely initial data gathering, both on the demographics and facility side, and getting that initial round of data from the June survey last summer for all of the parents who were involved in the choice selection process for elementary schools. We then took that data, developed multiple scenarios, went out to the community through a myriad of focus groups and surveys in October, received that response, those responses rather, adjusted as you're aware, and went back out with a refined set of 2 options to consider, 2 scenarios to consider next to each other in the December survey. As a brief reminder, the scenarios that move forward, we had scenario 2 here, which was a cluster model, looking at the same logic of choice, but defining boundaries that would work together as one for each of the schools, being divided into one of 3 different clusters. This would impact about 2/3 of all students, and we would have specific carve-outs in this particular scenario for IPA and Stratton dual language programs. The scenario 4, which was brought forth, was to look at converting Garden Hills to a PK-8 program, as well as IPA, and to modify the current choice. So in these cases, Garden Hills and IPA moved to a full day pre-K, pre-K-8. and continue to use proximity and socioeconomic diversity during student assignment, as is currently the case, reinforcing your existing policy guidance, which is referenced in the blue section at the bottom of the slide. Setting aside 5 to 15% of all seats at schools, at all schools, for late registration, and extending kindergarten registration to June. To that effect, removing balanced calendar, which creates a hiccup in the timing of that registration, and putting all of the schools on the same calendar, which would include in a fall break to take some of that rhythm of a balanced calendar and spread it out across all of the schools, being on one set of calendars, with his one registration timeline and process. With the exception of course, there's always extreme exceptions, but to have no wait list as a rule, and to really lean in to your model, and to work within to get to reach your board targets for diversity in population and in your schools, as well as for utilization. That your students, the small crop of students in Bonneville going to many different schools there, are required to attend Kenwood and Jefferson. This would be effective next year, and that's just impacting that small geography there. To review the start and stop times, and that families who do qualify for transportation would have the option to be reimbursed. And that's something that was questioned by several folks is this possible in the survey in December, and we can assure you that yes, it is. The district has found that is possible, so we'll address that a little bit later. Scenario 4 also had a middle school implication, and one of the questions that came up was what will happen in middle schools. At the time, the consideration was making the change on Garden Hills feeding into Franklin, and then IPA for those who wouldn't go to the 6-8 program, and that IPA, for those who wouldn't choose into its 6-8 program, go into Edison, but you could choose to stay. And that Carrie Busey would change to feed into Franklin, and Booker T. Washington would change to feed into Edison. These were ideas to help balance out both the overall utilization as the population is anticipated to grow slightly, and to, at the same time, improve district board diversity goals. That this would start effective in the next school year, and that current 6th and 7th graders would have the option, of course, to stay at their current middle school, as would their siblings of current 6th and 7th graders. This is the slide that you saw the last time. To clarify that what this means is that if the parent has a child in 6th or 7th grade right now in the middle school, the younger siblings the district would make all accommodations possible to keep all the sibling groups together at the same middle school as the younger siblings come up. And we'll go over a slight modification to that option at the end of this presentation. And so, overview of the scenarios as initially considered. The two that we did not go over are the boundaries with islands and the sister schools, and the boundaries just with islands, having what we would call a neighborhood school, which I've mentioned several times is very, very challenged, if not physically impossible, given the locations of your schools. Elementary schools clustered really close together, many of them with the population being it as a neighborhood schools. They don't work in your area. You would have to create islands to really make them work at all. And you would see the number of students impacted anywhere from 2/3 to nearly 80%. And you can see the differences in SES from the mean. They're 53% in each of the different scenarios. So with scenario 4, I would have the least percentage impact on students, really be dependent on the particulars of the timeline and weights. And we're thinking that the best estimate is that you're less than 10% impact on students, and that students who are in their current schools would be able to matriculate through. So looking at the scenarios that were applied to the surveys. Initially on the left here, you're seeing the summer survey at the top left. Do you feel that the current schools of choice process is meeting the goals of creating racially and socially economic integrated schools? About half of respondents said yes, a quarter were unsure, 14% said no, and 12% preferred not to answer. And this was sent for everybody who completed that survey in the schools of choice application. And then the same below, listing the importance, the highest importance was overall impression of the school. That's at 27%, followed by attending a school close to home. And they were attending, or I prefer not to answer, being really the top three responses. And without considering distance, overall impression, perceived safety, test scores, and were the top three. And test scores and racially balanced schools were the top four, with overall impression and perceived safety being the top two. Over on the right, these were the initial surveys brought to the community in October on sister schools and clusters, which are the original two scenarios. And as we repeated, they were not popular. And you can see that on the aggregate, and you can see that at the school levels as well. There was no love for the option as a whole. And we could see that when we coded all of the narrative comments, which we did again, and found that the primary concerns as listed in the narratives reinforced concerns about disruption, impacts to student achievement, which, as our principals sort of teed up for us, concerns about achievement were tied with concerns about relationships. You know, the relationships that principals and teachers work so hard to maintain, fearing that would be sort of torn asunder, particularly following the pandemic, and other concerns. So, new survey in December. When we sent that out, we because the clusters model was the least, we affectionately called it the least hated option that we put out in October. We put that one out juxtaposed with the scenario 4 modifications to current choice, with the two PK8 options at Garden Hills and IPA as discussed, with the middle school change as well. We also narrated, we annotated all the narrative responses, looking at coded them by primary and secondary topics, as well as overall positive, neutral, or negative. And you can see in the bar chart, the stacked bar chart, that scenario 2 was still unpopular. Look at the total no support in red there. About 2/3 of respondents said they strongly did not support or do not support. And when you look at the modifications to current choice, you had about 55% strongly support or support, with, I think importantly, 18% either not sharing an opinion or needing more information to form an opinion. So a clear favorite amongst the two there, amongst all respondents. These were distributed to all parents and guardians via email, all staff via email, as well as posted on the website. We had a total 839 parents, 103 staff, 29 who identified as a future parent, and 20 as a community member or former parent. When we looked at some of the topics, for example, we'll go over some of the narrative response, kind of give some anecdote there. If you look at, this is our crosstab, so we looked at the level of support. Scenario 2 here is on the left, scenario 4 is on the right, and this is by school. You see the 50% being our midpoint there, and so you can just look at the reds and the blues, and you can see that by and large, still, scenario 2 was unpopular amongst nearly every population, over 50% response, with some exceptions. BTW, Stratton were the only schools that exceeded that midpoint of support for scenario 2 clusters. Scenario 4 had a number of schools that exceeded the threshold, and only one that was, two that were that did not, and exceed the total threshold for support there. Especially if you consider the no opinions, you had Carrie Busey and Stratton there with a little bit more on the negatives than the positive. But by and large, you can see much more support spread throughout the district for this one. Here again, we use the same topics to code the responses in December that we did in October, so we could do some comparison between the two, and we could see a before-after picture. Still, disruption was the #1 concern of the respondents. However, we did something slightly different this time, coded those by that positive, negative, or neutral. And what you can see is whereas disruption is still the #1 concern, and about half of the respondents, well, actually over consider people's secondary topics, we're talking about the absence or the relative lack of disruption in this scenario versus others as a positive. So this disruption was still mentioned, it was just mentioned in a positive light. And then others were still in the warning against or concerned about vein. There was also concerns about the balanced calendar that was brought up. That was in addition to the previous codings, the previous October survey codings. And then looking at feeder schools, pre-K transportation, neighborhood schools, you can see that those different markings. The other still had general concerns or general relief mentioned, and just more general comments. There were some concerns about equity, but quite honestly, those concerns, it was balanced out by concerns about equity and hopes about equity were about 50-50 of those speaking in about equity specifically. So key takeaways is general approval for scenario 4. Some concerns as approval of the middle school feeder change, but not universal. So general support for fall break being added to the calendars. Some those who are currently in the balanced calendar expressing dismay at that not being an option for them moving forward. And there was a lot of support, as one generally expects, for the addition of pre-K and looking at the options in full day pre-K. So that is popular here. That is popular everywhere that we go, for good reason. So when we look, here's the comments again, where the comments were coming from. Parents talked about disruption, transportation, calendar, feeder school. You can see this is sliced by parents, staff, or others. The majority of our respondents were our parents. And as mentioned earlier, that there were some concerns. We asked a general question just about the scenario 4, which was new for their consideration. But then we asked, what challenges do you foresee with either scenario? And then tell us what you're talking about. And one of the comments that came up several times, enough to mention it, was questioning the reality of a transportation reimbursement. And we just wanted to, we conferred with the district on this and wanted to emphasize with them, and I'm sure that Dr. Bruiser and team can follow, that this is doable. This is not a dream, what if we could, but a reality that you can. And so I'll let Dr. Bruiser's and team follow through on that. Where when asked the question, if you qualified and are offered the opportunity to be reimbursed for providing your own transportation, would you be interested? We had 520 yes and 362 no. So a pretty significant number of folks who find that intriguing, to say the least, as well as general approval and interest in this option as a way to maintain those relationships, avoid disruption as mentioned, and stay in their choice school, have that option for this school or close to home. So we're at the end of this process, and our team had a recommendation that we provide for our clients to consider. And it is our recommendation that you proceed, the board consider proceeding with scenario 4, which is modifying the existing choice program to include expanding pre-K 8 at Garden Hills and IPA, continue using proximity and socioeconomic diversity during student assignment to reinforce your policy guidance, and that to strengthen that, removing the wait list with the exception of exceptions, and removing balanced calendar and getting every school on the same calendar, and adding that fall break to balance it out, and to make that offer and that plan, that feasibility to the realistic option to have their own transportation to help cut down on some of those challenges that we certainly heard that on transportation, which are outside the purview of the study, but certainly on everybody's mind. And this may come as a shock to you, but we don't recommend you go through this kind of process again in the next couple of years. That we recommend that you use the levers that you have in this choice model to reinforce your policy. And if you'll indulge me for a second, what we heard, members of the board, what I heard myself and Karen and others during the focus group meetings, during the one-on-ones, from every place that we went, was we want to focus on quality and resourcing our local schools for our kids. How do we focus on that? How do we do that? And I would just offer that we asked the question about are there challenges of inequity and diversity in the school district? And we heard a universal yes. That's a challenge. We want to invest in that challenge. But this was back in October. But we don't like the way you're trying to do it at the time in the initial scenarios. And to the community, I heard from the folks that worked with at this district, I just wanted to say that I have seen everybody I've worked with focusing on what's best for kids. And so you have community, you have the district focusing on wanting to focus on what's best for kids and resourcing schools. And I think that this is a conversation that, while this boundary process was about boundaries, or choice modifications and diversity in schools, it stirred a lot of conversation about equity and inequities in schools and investing in schools. And I, for one, somebody who works in this field around the country, I just think this is a conversation to continue. You have good faith partners community in this district, and I have seen good faith district in the community, and I just urge this to continue. So I appreciate you giving me a moment of a soapbox, even though you didn't have much of a choice because it's a Zoom call. Now, the final recommendation includes, in this scenario, assignment change in the middle school, and with a further tweak from what was originally conceived last fall. And in here, looking at these tweaks, were really looking at your slight growth coming up in the middle school levels and the opportunity to balance at the SES level at the middle schools in a way that involves changing feeders in time as opposed to the assignments at the elementary level. And it's more than feasible. It's highly recommended. So what we recommend is that you assign Carrie Busey students to Franklin Middle School, assigning BTW to Edison, same as original scenario 4. Carrie Busey is the larger school, is the highest chosen school. And in the past, Bottenfield Elementary has been a Title I or SES school, and Carrie Busey has not. And so making this change sort of structurally allows, from the feeder perspective, more balance at the SES level in the middle school, as well as improving our utilization, which is ticking high at the middle levels. Not overutilized yet, but you're getting pretty full. And assigning Southside students to Jefferson and Westview to Edison. Again, this provides more of a balanced enrollments now and as we look forward into the projections. And we run some different models there that give us a strong faith in that. So this is the final slide, and this is your visual about all the options, and so you can kind of see things at one glance. You have in the purple there, Garden Hills and IPA functioning as PK8s with full day pre-K. You see those here on the map. The reds are the removal of Balanced Calendar, Kenwood and Barksdall. The yellow circle there is all the Bonneville students moving, having the only students with an assignment attending Kenwood and Jefferson effective next year. Existing students can stay at existing schools if your families can provide that transportation. See earlier reimbursement. Review start and stop times for all schools. Make sure that you're optimizing in that department for efficiency's sake. And at the middle school level, assigning Cary Busey ES to Franklin and assign BTW to Edison, Southside to Jefferson, and Westview to Edison. And in these cases, Garden Hills and IPA students can have the option to keep at their current school and go all the way, PK8 or wherever they entered through the 8th grade, or may opt into the feeder school assigned. And that is our presentation. The next, almost, forgot about the last slide. The next one is that tonight's presentation is for discussion, question, and that the following presentation on January the 3rd would be for board action and a vote on this recommendation. If approved, that would be coupled with approval at the time of the transportation reimbursement process to put in action the recommendation and the opportunity for that transportation reimbursement, that there be an approval of the next 2 years of school calendars, and that the superintendent to direct staff to review and align board policy with the recommendation to make it actionable. And now I'm done. Questions, comments?
Do you have anything to add, Dr. Boozer or Orlando?
The other change with the middle school feeders, the rationale behind that, I'm not sure if it was spoken to. I was reading it, but I'm not sure everybody saw that. Mr. Thomas Jefferson is over capacity already, that piece. So the change of Southside students to Jefferson and assigning Westview to Edison, the rationale behind that, I'm not sure people could see that, but it was because Jefferson is already over capacity. We don't have enough room for another mobile classroom. I mean, it's like trailer park, not trailer park, yeah. Portables, thank you. That's the word. Portables everywhere, so looking at future numbers, they're already over capacity, so moving our only 2-strand school of Southside to our over capacity already Jefferson would make sense, and then move the Westview to Edison. So that would help the overutilization of Jefferson Middle School. So I wasn't sure if that was said or not.
Correct. I did not clarify that specifically. Thank you. Southside being your smallest school, the 2-strand school, having a smaller school feed into the middle school sort of structurally sets you up to lessen the pressure on capacity there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Boozer. This is not an action item, it's just a report, so we don't need a motion. Questions? Elizabeth.
All right. I'm going to begin by saying that was a very hard act to follow, but you did a great job.
Thank you.
Now, to set up my question, the reason why I'm asking this question is because exceptions lead to inequities. So I have a scenario. Let's not
Okay.
use that word, a situation. And it's about middle schools. My overarching question is, when does the, like, keeping students together at the same school, after how many years does that run out? So here's a scenario. I've written it out. Happy to show you this. In this school year, imagine that we have one household that has 3 students. Their names are A, B, and C. A is in 7th grade at Edison. B is in 5th grade at Carrie Busey. And C is in 3rd grade at Carrie Busey. That means next year, if scenario 4 were chosen, A would be in 8th grade at Edison. B would be in 6th grade at Edison, not Franklin, because we would be keeping the students together.
That's correct.
C would be in 4th grade at Carrie Busey. The following year, student A will be in 9th grade. I put them at Central. B is in 7th grade at Edison. C is in 5th grade at Carrie Busey. Next year, this is school year 25-26. Student A is doing extraordinarily well in 10th grade at Central. Student B is in 8th grade at Edison. But we're not going to give up on them.
I'm following the student dominoes, yes.
Thank you. Student B is in 8th grade at Edison. Student C will be going into 6th grade. This is now 3 years after is that fair to say? 3 years after, 2 years after we've implemented this policy? It's like the 3rd school year with this new reassignment policy. Student C, are we still keeping them together with their 8th grade sibling at Edison? Or is that where the exception runs out? Does that 6th grader go to Franklin? It is okay if we don't have an answer tonight, but that's overarching question. Where do our exceptions run out?
Right, right.
David, I'll talk.
That's a fair,
I'll talk a little bit about that, just a snippet. As from the conversation we had, as long as there is a current sibling in that middle school, so if that family so chooses to stay at Edison, because you're now going to have student B in 8th grade and student C is going into 6th grade, that student C can actually still go to Edison. But if student B were exiting and then student C was coming in, that's where it would stop.
right. Couldn't say it better.
Don't you start.
Hang on just a second. I want to make sure she's finished. Was that? I'm sure that's it?
I know.
Okay.
That was the whole thing.
But keep in mind, we're not so close that if student B is at Edison, but parents want student C to go to Franklin, they can do that. We don't want to cut that off. But if they want to stay together, our goal is to keep families together. But if they want to have another middle school and have 2 of them, we're not going to tell them no.
Could B go to Franklin?
It'll be Franklin.
But could B go to Franklin?
Or both of them, all of them go. So if I don't want my student B at Edison anymore, and we just want to say, okay, next year we're just going to all go with Franklin, that is also an option.
Thank you. Chris, sorry.
That kind of wrapped it up, that C could elect to go, anybody could elect, and at a point, do you stay with your peers or do you go with your sibling and stuff? So it's not a guarantee of it, yeah.
And that would be a family choice in that regard.
Any other questions? Dr. Baker?
One, I still would like to see the algorithm. I have yet to see it. So it would be helpful to actually see. It's nice to hear about the proximity and the SES, but I really want to know what goes in it. And 2, definitely the start and stop times are important. I know that being a Carrie Busey parent and having to go to Edison afterwards, that 1 year that we had to go to Columbia was really, really close. I mean, we're still close right now. And so thinking about the start and stop times, particularly for Carrie Busey to Franklin, obviously we realize Judah is right there as well, that it would be helpful just to ensure that it's possible to get there.
Thank you for that. And there's a committee that's going to start as soon as this vote, whatever we decide, the committee is ready to go. We've been speaking with CFT, so CFT has people who are ready. We have people that are ready. It was a part of the last bargaining contract negotiations to look at start and stop times. So that was the other reason why we're just trying to make this a seamless process as we possibly can. So that will be, they'll take all those things into consideration, and we'll definitely be wanting to hear your ideas and your thinking as well.
And I appreciate the conversation about Jefferson. I wrote, before you had even said that, the portables, we have to do something about that. And so I think the additional consideration of a Southside helps us eliminate some of those. I know that that's been on Angela's mind for a long time.
That's what, he's like, Linda keeps saying, we cannot put one more portable. There's no more room for a portable. Well, we see the bubbles, and we'd have to have 2 or 3 more portables, and we don't know where we'd put them. Let's put them on the front lawn.
So would we be able to decrease portables in scenario of moving the kids?
Eventually.
Okay. Okay.
Eventually.
There's just not adding. Okay. Elizabeth?
I have a question about data. Were responses, my question was inspired by one of the slides that showed like all of the schools and the approval, disapproval. That one, yes. Okay. So in these slides, we see BTW and Cary Busey and Stratton. These schools stand out to me as being more better to say, less in favor of scenario 4 compared to the other schools. Were responses proportional by school population? And not just for those 3 schools, those just stand out to me, but across all schools. Were survey responses proportional to school population, or were some schools more or less proportionally represented in this data?
That's a really good question. They were not, the responses were not proportional to the enrollments of the school. So they were sent out to all staff and the parents via the emails that were on file, but the responses didn't come in, 1-to-1. So it was not proportional.
Are you able to say generally which schools were more represented, which ones were less represented?
I cannot say that on the spot. To go back and to look at the responses as they relate to the population of the school, but that is something that we can do and get back to you before the end of the month.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Shannon? Did you have anything to add?
Elizabeth's question pretty much covered mine. It was something that we talked about. I think it was actually Chris that asked if we have 4th grade siblings of current 6th graders. We were talking about wanting them to be able to attend their siblings' assigned middle school on request. But I think that Elizabeth's 3-student scenario more than covered my question.
Thank you. Ms. Vasquez?
Looking at, you may have touched on it, but I don't have a note about it regarding the option for parents to provide their own transportation. Would that be a static sort of, this is the mileage per day, once in, once back, and not necessarily subjective, like the things that we know that we encounter with elementary kids forgetting their lunch back and forth and twice in a day? It would be a static set, not reflective of the nuance of children, if you will.
Yeah, so I've been working with our legal team on this actually, and we'll have, if this is approved on the 23rd, you can actually see the agreement that we've come up with. But the idea would be, we would look at a student's attendance, days they were present, they get the mileage as listed in our transportation system. It's a simple formula, right? It's there and back, mileage times 2 times the days they were in attendance kind of thing. And we're still looking through, like, what do we do it quarterly or semesterly? But that's the concept.
Thank you.
Would that include if they have to make a stop along the way?
No, it's just, it's as it would be if they were getting transportation from the district, right? So we're picking you up.
And then I think I know the answer, but if Janine and I have children at the same school and we make an agreement that I will drive our children, will there be accommodations made or that children can go with another family member? Is that something we're considering?
I need to look at the exact wording of what we came up with, and certainly we can take a closer look at that and talk about it more.
Talking and speaking about transportation, because when we, and early on, I kept thinking, oh, it's going to be this windfall back to the district of a budget standpoint, but then you realize transportation is reimbursed at a state level, correct? So that might be a clarifying question to Ms. Matkowski about how, I know it's complicated. She nods her head. And you cover this beautifully in the Finance Committee, but transportation overarching is reimbursed at the state level. It's not a line item budget. We're not going to have this money that can be reallocated to other spaces. It comes from the state as a reimbursement to the district. Correct. Will you have to cap students at IPA and Garden Hills in that 8th grade? What if you had a mass exodus and said every parent in 8th grade said, yeah, I'm out, I'm not staying here, or 6, 7, and 8, and said, I'm out? We couldn't possibly accommodate that. So do you have to cap how many parents might choose to leave the K-8 model?
That would be a case by case, year by year, just as we're doing right now with IPA. So it all depends. You have some who just love the whole idea of the family atmosphere and want to stay pre-K 8, and they're good, but you also have those who don't want to be in the small setting, who want to go and spread their wings into a larger middle school system. So it's hard to...
Maybe case by case if there's seats available.
Yes.
Okay, that helps. And currently, do the majority of our parents get their first or second choice in the system, in the choice process?
Yes, we're working with our IT department, and we'll be bringing some longitudinal data of the percentage of families that receive their first choice, and we'll have that at the 23rd meeting.
Ms. Vasquez.
It's a question for another time. Never mind.
Mr. Brown?
I have a question kind of stemming from something Dr. Baker said earlier. What if we adopt option 4, what tweaks would be made to the current model? So I don't know if that's an algorithm question, but if these are things that we could have already done, I'm just thinking like, wow, how do we end up with an option that's actually very close to what we already have in place?
It's a fair question. When it comes to the particulars of the algorithm itself, that is something I defer to Orlando on and team. When it comes to, these are looking at setting the parameters for what the algorithm would consider was really our purview in this particular recommendation. So this is looking at the inputs into it. And there could be perceived a bit of irony that we end up so close to where we started with this scenario. And my understanding of that journey is that you were hearing as a board that choice had problems. Choice was broken in some ways and needed to be addressed. And so you commissioned us to do that study as a board, and in the process of us coming up to alternatives and looking at the logical options, given your population, where it is relative to your schools and how that I've described how that is a challenge, just having your 7 schools within a couple miles of each other in the middle and so on and so forth, that the way you were going to create alternatives was to go through having geographies that were split up with island logic, and having that impact your choice, and that would move most of your students to create that significant alternative to the present. And we heard resoundingly that was undesirable, and it wasn't resoundingly from one community and not others. It was we heard it everywhere we went, from families at Carrie Busey, at our meeting, at Garden Hills, the 2 evenings. We heard that as vociferously at both meetings. We heard that in all of the dozens, 40-some focus groups, that the alternatives to your model would be so disruptive that was a significant concern. And so when we looked at the data from how the trends in the past few years have been in terms of your how the algorithm has been tweaking you towards closer to a more diverse student body, and per your board policy, when we looked at options for the PK8s to provide some different programmatic options there, and draw some kids in who otherwise might not choose in or stay into the schools. The recommendation was, well, we believe that with some changes to your inputs on your current system, with some of these programmatic changes, that you can continue progress towards your board policy on student assignment to get within that that tighter 5 to 15% total swing in terms of SES. So it was a long and in part there was some contentious elements to get so close to where you started, but that's how I understand it.
Yeah, Bruce, I can add a few additional comments. The district does not have the autonomy to actually modify or change the algorithm. We can change the inputs that go into the algorithm. So the algorithm is a set program devised by Dr. Alves, and now that is monitored by Kodagami, a local company. So the district can change the inputs. And so how might that look? The plus or minus 15%. I work each year with the superintendent to determine if we're going to use the district average, which has been anywhere between 52 to 55%. The algorithm will not assign 15% below that median number or 15% above. So that number could be changed. We could say we want to do 60% versus 55 that we did last year. That would increase the percentage of low SES at each campus. So then the lowest would be 45% and the highest would be 80 versus where we were at this year. And so that's one of the inputs that the district has the opportunity to change. The other is determining the number of seats that we want to hold at each campus to account for those families that arrive and register late. And why they register and arrive late is for a variety of reasons. We do have a ton of families moving to Champaign because they love us. And we have some that simply don't register. And so part of the outreach, part of this process, Bruce, will allow us more time to do that outreach with the hopes of reaching those 300 families that registered after we completed the algorithm. If they're in, the algorithm will guarantee that every campus is within that plus or minus 15%. And so the hope is always to try to get as many families as possible to be a part of the choice process. The elimination of balanced calendar will allow us to now have Barksdale and Kenwood are now back as viable options for those families that arrived late. This year, there were 17 available seats that were not available because they were in school for 4.5 weeks when the traditional calendar started. And so Dr. Bruiser and I talked and we said, hey, we're not gonna bring a kindergartner in having missed half of the first quarter. And so those two campuses will also be options now for us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I don't want it to seem like I'm being dismissive of the process and all the work that has gone into this, because what it sounds like is this process has essentially been a stress test on our system. And even though we thought it would be something more seismic, it really just showed us where we were inefficient and how we can actually be more efficient without major cuts. So, thank you. Appreciate it.
That is well said, sir. Thank you.
You just asked the question that I kept asking myself, how did I get here?
Well, I can tell you. Because I do have a great deal of gratitude to our community and to our staff and to you, Dr. Boozer, because you entered this conversation that had been started by a previous superintendent. And there were 3 big rocks that you walked into: bargaining, this conversation, and the policy review that took us 2.5 years to accomplish. So you walked into a conversation that you immediately took the reins of, and I have appreciated your perspective coming from the outside to see it and lead us through it, because the narrative has been for 25 years that everybody hates choice and this is a terrible system and we should change it. And it's boards before us would not broach this conversation because there were so many other things to do. But I'm grateful that we've actually addressed the elephant in the room. We do know what the community thinks and feels. And I think previous boards would tell you they would have loved an 80% approval of schools of choice. So we are a mobile community. People are coming here to the university, people leave, they come, they go. We have late registrants. We've heard from Via Delta in the past, previous ELL outreach, that our families register late and I had a child at the balanced calendar. I loved it. It's hard to release something that brings us back to efficiency. But we're here for efficiency, not legacy. What was it I think, David, you said it. It's being most efficient and trying to help the district. This doesn't address transportation as well as scenario 2 would have. And we have to admit that. And we still need to be very careful and thoughtful about our transportation department. Because they are the first faces many of our students see. They're the last faces they see when they get dropped off at home. My heart and soul, I love our transportation. I know all of us do. We right-size the building. We are trying, but I want to make sure that we are setting them up for success across settings and supporting our transportation department as much as possible, even though it feels like maybe this isn't as big of a swing to it. But how do we allow you latitude if you need to shift gears in the future beyond this? What is the monitoring process? Is it back to the algorithm?
Yeah, I think it's a yearly review and discussion. Are we able, because we can extend the registration period, are we able to catch some of those 300 families is holding seats at campus so that the late registrants have opportunities and we don't overflood the campuses that are historically not chosen. Is that a beneficial or a helpful model? And so every single year, we will have to review this model to determine if we need to come to the board with a recommendation to change or modify some of the inputs with the algorithm.
And we did the conversation, we are required to monitor the boundaries of our high schools. We have already done that in the recent past under previous Superintendent Zola. We already took a look at those boundaries, and it's every 10 years we're required to do that?
I don't know if it's required. We have commonly gone with 10 years that we look at
It's
those.
connected to the census, I believe.
I think what we try to do in that case is do real census data. It's where you live differently in regions, and IHSA rules, honestly. That is one of the.
So every 10 years?
Generally.
The
but-
boundaries are reviewed at the high schools.
We had to look at them recently, and we decided to honestly keep them the same. Within the past 2 or 3 years, we were seeing a little shift, just looked at them and didn't pull it all together again.
Okay. Chris?
Touch on a couple things real quick. Question about transportation, and this would kind of go to, is this going to help? Would the transportation vouchers be available to families that are already transporting doing their own transportation?
So this would be for next year. So what it would be is basically, it's a contract, if you will, between the district and the family that says, hey, I'm going to do these things, right, and we're going to give you this money in service for, in compensation for that service. And it's for people who qualify for the transportation.
Yes, absolutely. So, okay. Touching a little bit on the historical piece of it. So we didn't do anything this time around, but 12 years ago, roughly, we flipped people refer to it as flipping the hills when we moved Cherry Hills and Garden Hills. And that was almost a bigger move maybe than the Cary Busey South Side switching their flops. But I mean, the district has a priority to demographics, look at your demographics and move things around. And so when that happened 12 years ago, when there was a big move, you could have been living somewhere and had just moved in 1, 2, 5, 10 years before thinking that you would be in this district, and you were then now being asked to move to a different high school. And so you didn't have an option.
And that was prior to me working here, although my children, my family experienced that because I live in Cherry Hills. I want to say, but that's a really good example of going through that. At the time, we had way more students at Centennial, fewer at Central. We had, again, demographically, low SES, right? We were trying to balance. We did the balance. We had portables all over Centennial. Thank you for reminding me. And same thing. And so recently, just like I said, a couple years ago, we looked at it again. We're getting more students at Central. Honestly, that's why we looked at it. But it's not at a point of thinking about it right now. But we, as Orlando said, we're going to look at this all the time. It's important. We look at balances all the time.
Is there still a recommendation in this to extend the enrollment period for kindergartners and move it later? Okay. So I know that I picked up that. I hadn't seen it in the report. And then just lastly, I mean, I think it's good that we went through this process and then we didn't force it through. We didn't say, hey, we're going to change choice. We're going to flip it upside down and move it. We heard, we listened, we went through all this, and we did make those changes. And we have been, for the past couple of years, tweaking the algorithm to make those changes, to make those adjustments. There's not as many seats available at certain schools for our kindergarten classes. So we, all the time, since I'm almost 8 years in, have been making modifications almost every year to the school choice program. Almost every year, it's not the same as what it was the year before. We're constantly tweaking and adapting it. Some of those changes aren't ever realized by families, but it's still going on. So,
And I just want to say, we've made tweaks to the input,
yeah,
not to the algorithm.
correct. Sorry. Yes, thank you for that
We're-
correction.
We're not
no,
that,
no.
we're not that smart. We couldn't, but
But
just
we've
kidding.
we've made adjustments to help balance it. Like,
Yes.
I feel, especially over the past couple of years, that the process has been moving more into our favor, which I think almost plays out in the surveys and stuff of choice is actually okay. I think choice is the hardest, and who we hear it most from are first-time kindergarten families who are just entering the process or someone just moving in the community.
Yeah.
And so,
I'd have to echo that. Being new, that was one of the things I heard often was that, we need to change choice. And so I, didn't know because I was trying to understand it myself. But then when you hear from people that I didn't get my first choice, those are the people that generally were like, I want you to change this choice process. I don't like it. But now that I'm in my school, don't change it.
Yeah, don't
because I like my school, and that's one of the reasons we want to showcase our schools, because we have amazing schools and staff that are doing phenomenal work. And I think we need to do a better job of telling our story and sharing the reality of what's really happening in our buildings. We have some things, we have growth, a lot of growth to make, but we also have some excellent teachers, excellent and exceptional administrators, and other educators who are doing phenomenal work that we need to make sure everybody understands and knows. Nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, I'm going to go to work and do the worst thing I can possibly do. Yeah. So I really appreciate my staff, and this is hard.
and then lastly, just on the middle school issue of, we're not, by creating the K-8, we're alleviating some of the seat pressure at, and which was something that we talked about a couple of years ago when we talked about moving IPA to the building. So the building in Garden Hills has the capacity to handle that. And then if, for some reason, a large amount of a sixth grade class didn't, we would still have had to been, that growth was still going to the middle schools as it is. So it's a win-win, and that same for the pre-K. I mean, there are some great things that are coming out of this, even though we didn't change the choice model, that are benefiting the district for years to come.
And you mentioned the committee, you're working with the union, with CFT and CESP around the extended day. So you're already going to be addressing stop times. This would just be another addition to that.
And the other piece to that is already have a committee that is starting the work of what the pre-K piece would look like. There's RFPs about to come out in 2024, I believe it is, I think, for additional applications and grant dollars for more pre-K, extended day pre-K. So we got groups looking at that and what would it look like, and can we start, would this be a planning year? Would it start next year? Those kind of things. So we've already got people working on that, and what it would look like and what we would need.
I also think it would have been a very different conversation if we hadn't had the interruption, because this conversation started before COVID hits, and we all are feeling very different. And when COVID's in the rearview mirror, if it ever is, but moving forward, I think working around this in past pandemic has been no disruption really catapulted to the front of that after what we've all been through.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? I'm sure you'll have more as you move along. We'll ask you, Dr. Boozer.
So with that being said, with full transparency and the conversation, and giving everyone else an opportunity to have something to say, based upon the recommendation on tonight, I am going to recommend scenario 4 for the board to vote upon on the 23rd. But I just need it. I don't want people thinking, oh my God, where we're going to land, but that is my recommendation.
And that'll come forward at our next board meeting. Okay?
But that gives us also time to hear if there's any other comments or concerns or what have you, but that would be the recommendation that's going to come on the 23rd.
Okay. And historically, what we've done at our board meetings is prior to a vote, we do have public comment before we vote. So we will have another opportunity to hear from our community at that board meeting, next board meeting before we vote. So there will be time and opportunity there as well. Okay. Well, thank you, team from Cooperative Strategies. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Thank you, Superintendent Boozer, team. and to our community for participating and going along in the conversation with us and helping us in the narrative and the outcomes. So we look forward to our next board meeting, which will be an action item then. Okay?
And I just have to say, I don't make this recommendation lightly. This is very difficult, but in light of everything, the staying focused on our students and what we're here for is what's helping me to make this recommendation. And the other piece is, I really, for the record to show, I really liked scenario 2, the cluster model, but because of the pandemic and the disruption and all those things, this is not the time to do something like that. It's just not fair to our students, and it's not fair to our community. And I do understand that we have to make some kind of changes, but trying to do something that's least disruptive, that keeps us focused on the main thing, which is teaching and learning, is why I just had to say that. This was not an easy, I have lost sleep, and I tell people all the time, I don't lose sleep, I love sleep. But I have lost sleep over this because this has been a difficult decision. But with all things out there, keeping the kids and our staff and everyone at the forefront of what we do in transportation. So.
And with the new website, we'll have the historical pieces to this for our community to follow along and see why. Okay.
And also on there is the piece that has everything that we're doing around the academic pieces to move us forward. So what we look like as far as the pathway toward excellence with our strategic plan, how we got there, what we're doing right now, all of that is there as well. So people can see what we're doing and how we're moving along. So, yeah.
Well, thanks, team. Anything from you, Ms. Shannon? Nope, okay. All right, thank you very much. And that will move us into agenda item 7, which is our action agenda, new business. Item A is the approval of the design, bidding, and construction administration services agreement for power upgrades at Jefferson Middle School. Ms. Stegmeyer.
Good evening. This item is a follow-up to the April 25th board meeting where we proposed a list of long-term capital and maintenance projects. So we've been coming sort of on somewhat of a regular drumbeat, getting various approvals on those projects, whether it's design approval or construction contract. So this is for electrical upgrades at Jefferson Middle School. This item came through the principal and through the O&M group. They regularly in classrooms have circuit breakers that blow just from overloaded, just too much power in individual classrooms, too much power needs in individual classrooms that the circuit breakers can't handle. So we first hired GHR in the fall, GHR Engineers and Associates, to take a look at, what exactly is the power supply and how is it distributed and what is needed. They did a study in the fall, made a recommendation, and this design contract is to proceed with the design and their recommendations. So it's two-part. The first part is to add one dedicated receptacle circuit and at least 3 receptacles on that dedicated circuit in each classroom. And then to replace 5 electrical panels that are outdated with new electrical panels that include additional circuit breakers for those receptacles in the classrooms. So if this is approved tonight, they will proceed with the design. We are going to go very quickly through design. They're going to put a number of people on this. They've already done a lot of the field work through the study, and they're going to immediately put it out to bid. If approved, we'll come back next month, late next month, to the board with a construction contract, the lowest responsible bidder, for your review and approval, and we will do the work in the summer 2023. We already have your approval on the design for a fire alarm contract, and we're out to bid for fire alarm upgrades at Jefferson. So we will have this work and the fire alarm work, if we get good bids on both projects, both occurring in Jefferson next year. And the school will be unoccupied because of these 2 projects. So the next step, if approved, we'll be back next month with a construction contract. And the pricing is a fixed fee of $35,028 for the design and the bidding and construction admin work, and then a not-to-exceed fee of $4,700 for on-site observation of the contractor during construction.
Thank you, Ms. Stegmeyer. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Kleppel, Brown. Questions? Comments? Pretty straightforward. Tammy, would you call roll?
Mr. Kleppel,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong,
Yes.
Dr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Shannon,
Yes.
Ms. Soteropoulos, Ms. Vasquez.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0 to recommend the approval of the contract with GHR Engineers and Associates for the maximum total of $39,728. Thank you, Ms. Stegmeyer. That will move us to item B, which is the design approval for Barksdale Playground Improvement. Turn this over to you, Mr. Monk.
All right, good evening. All right, on December 12th, the board approved the estimate and the design for the Barksdale Drainage Project. The fun portion, if you will, of that project is building a new playground. So we're coming tonight to look at the design and get approval for the layout and the equipment itself. The project itself is about a $750,000 project. We are tracking under that right now, and the playground itself is about $250,000 worth of that. We will use Cunningham Recreation, which we most recently used for the IPA playgrounds as part of that construction. The final design presented tonight has been reviewed by our engineering firm. Obviously, the Barksdale administration makes sure it fits all of their needs, wants, and hopes, as well as our CAP projects team, O&M, and our special education department, which we want to make sure as we go through with each of our schools that group is kept in mind. So we have as much accessibility and usability, if you will, for each of our playground upgrades. Goals that are being met for this, as I just mentioned, addition of a fully accessible area. That includes solid rubber play surface, new equipment that can be utilized by all students, a more defined playground footprint, which we'll take a look at in the next slide, which allows for more extensive use of green space, which we'll add to, and then the removal of some multiple pieces that are currently there. The reason we're going in to fix the drainage of Barksdale is because we have standing water in so many locations that some of that equipment that is currently there has rusted out, is constantly under repair, or is just not usable because it's sitting in a mud or a bog, etc. On this slide, we'll start to the left. This is just a satellite photo with some notes of the existing playground and what the new footprint will look like. If we start to the left in that little green box, all that right now is wood chips that we've replaced and try to add to on a regular basis through our grounds department, and the equipment there is somewhat outdated, but due to the weathering, the wear and tear, again, it's starting to show its wear and usability, some of it becoming a safety hazard. So with the administration there at the building, one of the wants was more green space in that area and yet improve the playground. Mind you, and through this whole area of this slide will get torn up as part of the drainage project, so we should alleviate all the issues with the standing water that we've been having. So if we make that area to the left entirely green space, we'll get some new seed, we'll grow some grass there. That'll give the opportunity for the school who would like to see more ability to have kickball, for one, as well as soccer setup, etc. So we can use that space for that. The blue area is going to be our accessible location. The blacktop that's located adjacent to the school is just to the lower level of the slide. So anybody, any student, any person can walk out of the school, take the sidewalk, take the blacktop, and then walk onto the rubber surface there to get to a new play structure. That new play structure will include several items that are interactive and automated towards sensory, or focused on sensory, if you will. A lot of ways to climb, feel your way up to the tower there, across arches, ropes course, etc. So that is quite a complex that we're placing there, and that will be very accessible, and it'll really be a key fixture to replace the items that are just to the left of it there in the green space. One item that will stay is the shade structure. That is in pretty good shape. That is the white canopy right in the center. And obviously that's going to be important as well, as there are not a ton of trees out there through that area. Just up that way in the pink area, that's all going to be rubber mulch to replace the wood mulch. And then the square checkerboard kind of pattern piece, that is going to be a new climber. The difference between that, it's all rubber coated through the inside, so it's the metal wires with a rubber coating on it. So, and it sits about 3 foot off the ground, so somebody can come up, transition themselves up to the top of it, the bottom of it, climb from beneath. So it's accessible for a lot of different students. And then to the right, they don't have any swings out there. We're adding some swings. We're going to add tandem swings, partner swings, if you will, all sorts of good stuff like that to add that. And again, that was part of the request coming from Barksdale administration. And then along the outside of that, forming a pattern around from the blacktop is just a 3-foot sidewalk. That way, if you come off the blacktop, you don't want to go you want to go directly to swings. You don't have to walk through the green space there. And then if you take a look at that green space, it is visible. That's what most of that area looks like, where we try to grow grass, but of course it's used for play, but with the standing water, it's next to impossible. So we end up with just a cracked dirt, dry surface, and when it rains, then it just sits on top. So this drainage project will help that immensely. Really, that's the only piece to tonight. This is a design approval. If there's any questions, let me know. Otherwise, tomorrow we will move on with purchase so we can get this stuff shipped and on the way. Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Monk. This is an action item. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Soteropoulos Brown, any questions? We've talked about this playground a lot. Love it. Tammy, would you call a roll?
Ms. Soteropoulos?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong?
Yes.
Dr. Baker? Mr. Kleppel?
Yes.
Ms. Shannon?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Monk. That'll move us to item C, which is the purchase of replacement transportation buses. Turn this over to Mr. Caribou.
Good evening. I'm just waiting for my PowerPoint to start. PowerPoint. So transportation and the Unit 4's vision and mission is stated in our vision, empowering each learner to thrive in a diverse and changing world. Our mission, which you've probably seen over and over, so I'll just skip over that. Transportation is aligned with the strategic priority group 5, strategic resource allocation, ensuring centrally managed services such as transportation operations and maintenance and food service enhance the educational process and contribute to improve outcomes for our students. The bus replacement plan has been around for a while. It's a plan that replaces it's a plan to utilize to routinely rotate and trade in or replace aging vehicles. The past 2 years, the fleet replacement plan was not completed due to the following of COVID-19 and new transportation leadership joining Unit 4. What has been looked at this year was the EPA grant. The EPA grant is a bipartisan legislature from the federal government that was passed, different than past year EPA grants. This year, it was prioritized applicants such as rural school districts, tribal school districts, and school districts that have 20% or more students living in poverty. This is one of the reasons why we did not apply, because this year the EPA went prioritized with the applicants. That's why rural districts got these applicants, and if you've probably heard about electric buses going to them and so forth. What was looked at are current fleet and needs. Special needs transportation is a growth in this area for our district. We do not have enough resources available, especially buses with wheelchair lifts or spots. Currently, I can tell you we have one in the shop that's been down since middle of December, and we're trying to rotate it throughout due to transporting special needs students. Also, extracurricular activities transportation. There's been some times that safety is in question due to our band, our archery groups, our cross-country groups, blocking emergency exits and so forth. Also, we're requesting a bigger bus to reduce of our overloads. Certain schools, we have overloads daily, especially at IPA and some other schools currently that we keep on running into overload situation where we have too many kids for the bus, or we route too many due to the structure. Our current fleet is roughly 80 buses. Our oldest bus on the lot is a 2007, which is roughly 16 years old. A lifespan for a bus is 12 to 15 years. Whenever you hear a bus is 2007, you actually probably received it in 2005 or 2006. So it's actually older than the chassis year. Current repair issues and expenditures have increased in certain of our buses. We spent a lot of money on updating ACs this past summer, which was roughly $5,000 to $7,000 a pop per bus that had AC roughly. And we're still having some of those issues with Freon and so forth in those particular buses. We did an invitation for bids, invitation to submit bids created and released. We requested 10 diesel-powered special needs buses with wheelchair lifts and air conditioning, 6 diesel-powered conventional buses with 71 capacity with underneath storage, and 4 diesel-powered transit type D buses with 84 capacity with underneath storage. Bid opening occurred at Transportation on December 2nd at 9:30 a.m. Why diesel? Because I know people are asking, why not green alternatives like propane, electric, and so forth. Currently, diesel still has the most miles per gallon efficiency compared to the other engines. They also have longer warranties compared to the gasoline engines and so forth. We currently have a 2-year engine warranty on our gasoline engines compared to 5 on our diesels coming into the transportation field. Since 2010, EPA restrictions and federal government came in and said diesel emissions are bad for the environment and so forth, and we have to reduce and cut emissions. That's when DEF, which is a diesel exhaust fluid, came into play, and that's when it's chain reaction, chemical reaction to reduce sulfur and all the carbonites from emissions to lower them to close to zero emissions as possible. We also have partnered with Parkland Community College this past year with a mechanic program. They specialize more heavily in diesel, which we do not have a lot of diesel up and running. Most of our diesel buses that we have in the fleet are running, but also have not passed state inspection due to the age and so forth. Also, our current infrastructure. The infrastructure for our propane buses and electric buses and so forth, if we ever look that way, is not up and ready yet. The reason why I state that is we have a hard time fixing our propane buses, especially in this area, because there's not a shop or maintenance facility that can support us with the appropriate devices. We have one bus that's waiting to be fixed, which is propane, and we're still waiting to get into that one specific shop that's out in Homer. Also, the infrastructure with electric buses will take up a lot of space with the charging units in our parking lot, which we really do not have the space for those charging units for electric buses. So this is why we went towards diesel. The results of the bid, all 3 main bus manufacturers submitted bids, which includes Thomas, Bluebird, and International. The results of bids comprised of 10 Type C special needs buses, which is going to be a 2024. They're going to be 24 to 30 capacity with integrated seats. Integrated seats are pre-K seats, which have the built-in booster child seat. When I mentioned 24 to 30 capacity and track seating, it's basically that we can alter the layout of the bus, of how many wheelchair spots can go actually on the bus, vice what we currently have. We have a lot of buses that do not have track seating, so we are driving around with buses with open spots where we can put in more seating to accommodate the routes. They'll also have air conditioning, which is best practice for special needs transportation. Estimated date of delivery would be fall of 2023. Here's some pictures of what they look like. It's a mid-size type A, which is half the size of our current length of a bus, which is 40 feet, so it'd be about 25 feet with the wheelchair lift in the back. Interior view. As you notice, the lift is in the far back corner. The seats closest to it are removable and track seating, so it can open up about 2 to 4 wheelchair spots if needed. Another results of the bid is when we requested 4 Type D 84 passenger with underneath storage. There are 2024 chassis we decided air conditioning due to sporting events in the summer, but also summer to school transportation. And also we'll be rotating those throughout the district so everybody gets a chance to utilize them due to the 84 capacity. Estimated delivery date is fall of 2023. They will look something like this. As you can tell on the side, on the bottom is a luggage bay, which will help store archery items, any kind of lunches on academic trips, anything that they're used to storing in a seat or blocking an exit will be able to fit underneath this. These are basically straight across through. There's no items that will block those except the drive shaft, which is covered. But this is what it would look like. The driver compartment stairway as students would walk in are on the bus, the driver area, and so forth. Our next part of the bid is our last request, which are 6 Type C 71 passenger with underneath storage. They're a 2023 Euro chassis, and estimated delivery date is spring of 2023. Here's a schematic of the 71 capacity, what it looks like, and actually if you can read that, it tells you the spacing and Illinois specifics and so forth. This is what they would look like. They're similar to the wheelchair bus that we purchased this fall when we were in dire need for that. They're kind of boxy, but kind of futuristic. Some of the kids that see the bus that looks like that call it the spaceship. And so forth. That's what I've been told by the drivers and so forth, that the kids kind of like seeing it because it's not the typical bus that we have. The entranceway is there. The height of this bus, actually, I can stand up straight up, and so it's higher than our other ones by about a ½ inch. Here is the view of the driver area walking into the area from the interior. Exit and the driver control panel. Okay. Here's the financial implications. Basically, we're during the bid process, Central States, which is our Bluebird, the 84 capacity transit is at a cost of $184,000 per unit, which would be roughly $738,000 for all 4. Requesting 10 wheelchair buses, which is at $137,000 per bus, which make $1.3 million total acquisition. And then Midwest bus, the 71 passenger, is at $133,913 per bus, a total of $803,000. Total acquisition for 20 buses is $2.9 million. Luckily, we are able to do lease payments. It's basically like your car loan. Instead of paying monthly, we pay yearly. So we can break these payments down in 5-year leases. So basically, it'd be the breakdown of 106, the far left column, right column when I'm looking at, which is 106, total of $632,000 would be our annual lease payments for these 20 buses. Funding for the new buses will be from Transportation Fund 40. The IFB included a request for representative 5-year leasing financing. The business office will additionally send out an RFP for leasing financing in order to be compared to relative costs and so forth. The annual lease payments will be partially reimbursed. It is not one-to-one for this. It will be partially reimbursed via the annual transportation claim. So the recommendation to the board is to purchase or lease the 10 special needs type C 24 to 30 passenger at the price of $137,888 per bus with wheelchair lifts and air conditioning. And type 4, type D 84 passenger diesel school buses from Central States at a price of $184,525 per bus. And 6 type C 71 passenger with underneath luggage storage from Midwest Bus Sales at the price of $133,913.25 per bus.
Thank you, Mr. Caribou.
Questions?
This is an action item. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Yeah, you went too fast.
Okay.
So moved.
Soteropoulos, I need a second. Second, Armstrong. Soteropoulos, Armstrong, questions? Ms. Vasquez.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to apologize. I had to take a phone call that was very important. I sincerely apologize for walking out on your presentation. I thank you for letting me be enjoying this great image that the rest of us get to enjoy, but I genuinely apologize. That was a critical thing I had to take care of, but I did want to apologize to the room.
Thank you. Dr. Baker?
You said there's air conditioning in these buses. Is there also heat?
Yes, there is heat in all the buses.
Just making sure. I asked because I do have a kid that's on some of the white activity buses, and I don't think some of them have heat.
They do have heat, they just don't have AC.
Okay.
Some of the activity buses that are the older ones do
Yes.
not.
Yes.
And I'm in the process to get with the athletic directors to start switching them in and out, rotate the new ones into that.
Thank you. It's a little cold sometimes on those buses after, especially in the winter. Is there a way to request a particular bus for an activity, especially with some of those ones that you're just now talking about?
So our new system that you approved last year, the trip side of that is up and running.
Perfect.
They are to request it via the trip system of the new routing software.
Awesome. And you said that we had the oldest one was about 2007. So and we had about a total of 70, correct? You said?
We have a total roughly of 80, so I'm requesting a quarter of the fleet to be replaced.
So that means, yes, then the 20 will be replaced. What would that bring our age up to as?
That will basically within 5 years.
Okay. I'm like, we've been replacing them pretty regularly, so that makes me feel a little bit better. And last is just a comment to Bus 108, who played a math game with my kid on the way home the other day, and he was so excited to do that. So thank you to Bus 108. I don't know the driver's name, but please do give kudos to them. He's excited to ride home on the bus. Thank you.
I'll let her know.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Elizabeth?
Chris and I are wondering, what happens to the old buses?
So actually we're going to get trade-ins from our, so how many we trade in, we're going to get a credit off of the pricing. Some of the pricing details that I've mentioned already have the credit of the trade-ins already. What they'll be doing is either scrapping them or fixing them and selling them to church groups or other entities that might need them and so forth.
So they may be available for sale, just not from the district.
Correct. Auctioning and so forth can be tedious.
I was going to say, you don't need one more thing to do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Amy, I have a couple.
Go ahead, Kathy.
So my first question is that on the financial costs, you talk about the acquisition costs and the annual lease payment. But if we're leasing them, like we end up owning them, right? So it's really more of a financing, not a lease, right?
So it's equivalent to buying a car. It's actually, in the government side, it's called leasing, and in your own life, it's called loan payments.
Okay.
So it's equivalent to that. So we will, after 5 years, own them and title to the district.
Okay, that's good. I was a little alarmed at the thought of leasing and then not owning. My other question is, I want to thank you for explaining why we are not yet ready for electric school buses. However, the electric vehicle technology is advancing so quickly, and we have a lot of facilities in our own state. We have Rivian that are building electric trucks, and we may be getting a new electric vehicle battery plant. And so I think it's really, really important that we stay on top of all the available opportunities for grants, for infrastructure, for charging, and get this into our district as soon as it is feasible for us. I appreciate that the diesel manufacturers have done a lot to reduce emissions. However, we know that even the newest diesel engines are still they're still emitting a lot of pollution, and unfortunately that does tend to fall on our most marginalized communities. So I appreciate your looking into that, and hopefully we will continue to look into that, and it won't be too long before we're able to start moving into electric buses and making the air healthier for our entire community.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other questions or comments? Tammy, would you call roll?
Ms. Soteropoulos?
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Clopel?
Yes.
Ms. Shannon?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you so much, Mr. Carvu. I'll move us to item D, a suspension appeal.
75 cents.
Student number 224397. This suspension is upheld by the Board of Education. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Soteropoulos Vasquez. Tammy, would you call roll?
Ms. Soteropoulos?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez?
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Clopel?
Abstain. I was not present for the conversation.
Ms. Shannon?
Yes.
Motion carries 6 with 1 abstention. That will move us to our consent agenda. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Soteropoulos Vasquez. I will read through these. Item B is the Centennial High School Choir and Orchestra 2023 Spring Trip to St. Louis. C is completed FOIA requests. Item D is human resource changes. Item E is the Bills and Treasurers Report. Item F is the approval of minutes. Any questions? Tammy, would you?
I don't have a question, but a comment. I saw that Josh, I can't remember his last name, from Garden Hills, is moving from cafeteria worker to student support advocate, and I've witnessed him love on our kids. I'm excited to see him in that role and hope that we can continue to grow that. So thank you to Josh for all you do.
Thank you. Elizabeth?
And it's not a question. I've made a comment like this before. I hope we keep making comments like that. I'm really excited to see that the Centennial Choirs and Orchestra are going to be taking a spring trip to St. Louis. That is so amazing. I really support that. I see that fundraising will begin pending board approval, and I hope that we are very conscientious of who fundraising efforts fall disproportionately on, and that's not fair to our students. So I hope that people in our community will be supportive of this effort so that students aren't having to sacrifice time that they could be studying, that they could be practicing their instruments and doing other enriching things, not fundraising for a trip. So.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Tammy, would you call roll?
Ms. Soteropoulos?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez?
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Clopel?
Yes.
Ms. Shannon.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Then we'll move this to item 9, which is a public comment. I have cards in front of me. There's cards on the back table. There is a clock that will pop up on the screen. And public comment is limited to 3 minutes. And this is an open meeting and available to everyone in the community. And the public comment represents the voice and opinion of the speaker. There will be no feedback from board members during public comment, but administrator may follow up as per the superintendent's direction. The first card I have with me is Gina Cervantes. I apologize, I did not see the little ones. I'm so sorry.
Year teaching in the district and my second year at Kenwood. I'm here to implore you to reconsider removing balanced calendar. I have taught at both a regular calendar school and a balanced calendar school. Speaking for myself, I am a better teacher at a balanced calendar school. As many people know, teaching is an intense, draining, yet rewarding and enjoyable career. I'm a better teacher when I'm at my best, mentally and emotionally. A 6-week summer is the perfect length of time to recuperate and reset for the new school year. And then the 3-week breaks in September and March, they come at exactly the right time for both staff and students. Like, you can feel it. For me, I utilize the first week to recuperate, the second week to kind of reset, and then I use that third week to plan for the next quarter. After having discussions with other balanced calendar staff members, I think this is honestly the best way to prevent teacher and student burnout. However, we know the school system's there for the kids. We want to do what is best for the students. I decided that I can't speak for my students. I want them to speak for themselves. So I asked them. I said, "What's your opinion?" One kid told me, "I want 12 weeks of summer and 3 weeks off in March and 3 weeks off in September." And I said, "You can't do that, but nice try." Some other quotes I had. "When you have a long break, you might forget things. Shorter breaks in the future help you to remember." The breaks give us more time to refresh our brains so that we can learn. I love school starting in July because some people like going to school earlier to see their friends. And finally, balanced calendar is great because we can practice math, writing, and reading longer, and we can rest our brains to be ready to learn. As a teacher, I would be considered unsatisfactory if I did the same thing for every single student, never differentiating or utilizing different teaching methods. Though it's more work to differentiate and present information in all these variety of ways, it is what is best for the students. Is balanced calendar the solution for everyone? No, and that's okay. But in my opinion, having the option of balanced calendar for those families and students who are most successful with this type of schedule, while still having regular calendar as well, is the ideal way for the district to best meet the needs of every student. It's not easy, and I completely get that. But I just feel like it's what is best for staff and students. So thank you for taking the time to listen to me. Really hope you will reconsider the removal or have a serious conversation about it. Count my kids out for this. So.
Thank you so much. Next, I have Teresa Russell. And thank you, little ones, for sitting with us.
All right, I'm nervous too, so.
You know.
Good evening. I have experienced balanced calendar as a parent and now as an educator. My two sons, who are now 23 and 25, both thrived in balanced calendar. My younger son is autistic and also has Asperger's. The shorter summer and the 3-week breaks were very beneficial for him. He retained academics and behaviors were helped with regular breaks. I have worked for Unit 4 for the total of 16 years, 8 years as a lunchroom playground supervisor at Kenwood, and also 8 years as a paraprofessional at Kenwood. The special education students I work with benefit in many ways from Balanced Calendar. So please reconsider Balanced Calendar and honor the 76% of the families who took the survey and are strongly against the removal of Balanced Calendar. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Phil Drusty, I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Mr. Drusty.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Phil Dresty. I have the great privilege to teach 4th grade at Kenwood Elementary, one of the 2 Balanced Calendar schools in the district, and a fantastic place to teach. I'm speaking today to ask the board to allow Kenwood and Barksdall to remain Balanced Calendar schools. I'd like to echo the words fellow Kenwood teacher Melissa Shungu shared here recently. We do not need to sacrifice our children's well-being to achieve our diversity goals. Balanced Calendar has contributed immensely to the well-being of both students and staff in our Kenwood community, and survey results show the same sentiment at Barksdall. So how can we keep Balanced Calendar while achieving our diversity goals? First, let's be clear about what the goal is. Balancing our schools by race and SES. This is an admirable goal. Since late registrants may be low-income minority students, reserving seats for them would increase these populations at schools where they are underrepresented. Cooperative Strategies' argument is that ending Balanced Calendar would enable these students to attend our school without missing weeks of instruction. However, Kenwood and Barksdall are already meeting or nearly meeting our diversity goals. Illinois report card data from last year lists Barksdall at 39% low-income students and Kenwood at 46% compared to the district average of 45%. Percentages of white and black students at both schools are listed as within 2 to 5% of district averages. Hispanic students are underrepresented, but so many students go to IPA, 320 last year, that this group will never be exactly balanced. Asian students are overrepresented as well, but these families may not want every choice for their child to be a school where only 8% of their classmates look like them. We do not need to require absolute uniformity in order to achieve diversity. Some district schools need major shifts to achieve reasonable balance, and I truly respect the efforts of the board community and district leaders trying to improve this issue. However, ending Balanced Calendar is not necessary to achieve this goal. I believe sufficient adjustments could be made in Balanced Calendar schools using the Schools of Choice process. At the last board meeting, President Armstrong asked how many seats were unfilled at Balanced Calendar schools because late registrants could not be placed there so late in the school year. Mr. Thomas responded 8 seats at Barksdall and 9 seats at Kenwood. Although this number may seem significant, it is only about 2% of the students at these schools. Also, this is the first year in 2 decades that late registrants have not been placed at Kenwood. Although it is not ideal for late registrants to be sent to Balanced Calendar schools, our teachers have always worked with these students to get them caught up to their peers and included in the classroom community. Then the students receive the benefits of Balanced Calendar for the rest of their elementary years. And so I ask again, please let us keep the calendar that has done so much for us. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. And I really don't want to mess up your name. Jill Jorlene. That's, I knew it was the J.
Dr. Boozer, in going with your tell me your story that you mentioned about earlier, I was thinking that my comments are more about my story at Kenwood. I'm Jill Jorlene, the art teacher at Kenwood, and I've been there for 26 years. The Balanced Calendar started a year before that, so it's been around for 27 years. I am very passionate about the Balanced Calendar for many reasons. One, we've been 27 years and -1 for COVID. So 26 years of diverse full classrooms, 26 years of being the right schedule, right thing for me. 26 years of teaching 9 weeks and then taking a break. Get your report cards done and you can have a break. Get ready for the next quarter. I have chronic fatigue, I have fibromyalgia, and RA, and they need these breaks. And we have students that have health issues or they're SPED, and they need those breaks. And they rely on those breaks. And if we change it, we have a big change in these kids that have been used to it. So even if my well-being is not on your radar, think about those kids and attending the school that they're thriving in, and it's going to be a change, big change. My kids that went through Kenwood are still adjusting. They're in middle school and one in high school, and they're still adjusting. And they see me take my breaks, and they are jealous. You ask us to differentiate our classrooms. I've done that for 26 years. I wish you would consider that we still need this program for some of our kids, and that we keep that open for the staff and families that find that it's beneficial. 26 years it has worked. 26, 27 years, this has worked. Let's fight for it to stay. Listen to your balanced calendar community and see that the balanced calendar is worth keeping. We need it.
Thank you so much. Jessica Lebrons? Oh. Andreas Munoz?
Good evening. My name is Andres Munoz. I'm speaking on behalf of my family. We have 2 children at Kenwood Elementary on 4th grade and 1st grade. I'm asking you to keep the balanced calendar. Reason number 1 being learning. We feel that it reduces the amount of anxiety that our kids have going back to school after the whole summer. We like the fact that it keeps learning continuous for them during the entire academic year. And we also like the fact that it gives them time off to think when they have the shorter breaks. Reason number 2 is childcare. Both my wife and I have mostly all year round full-time jobs. So it is difficult for us to find childcare for the entire 3 months of the summer. And reason number 3 is better quality time spent with a family during the breaks. So the 3-week breaks allow us to take a small amount of vacation as a family whenever we get a chance. I personally can travel back home to South America with my kids during low season, and I can visit family, and that gives our kids a great cultural experience that we typically would not have if we were only allowed to travel during the summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Munoz. Christy Arnold?
Hi, I'm Christy, and I didn't have anything really written up or prepared. I just kind of came tonight to listen, so I just wanted to comment back on a few things that I heard. I do appreciate the disruption and that we're limiting that, so that is huge, and I really do appreciate that a lot. One of the other things I did hear, though, was that you say the community wanted you guys to examine the choice assignment model, and that you've been hearing that for years, and that this board, was finally taking that on, so great. But when you submitted your first round of items to us, you gave us 2 scenarios which were very disruptive, and obviously the community was pouring out their hate or whatever for those options. And then you said, okay, well, basically scenario 4, if you leave out the pre-K and all the other things, the actual choice model part of it is not really changing, other than to do some holdback of seats, other than to do some things that you could do regardless of implementing anything new. You could still do those things. And you pitted that against the cluster that you knew people already hated, and now you sit there saying, oh, people really like scenario 4, but you didn't really actually give it. Dr. Boozer laid out a couple weeks ago that all these great ideas came from the focus groups, and the community had so many amazing things. So where was another idea? Because basically the assignment model goes unchanged in scenario 4. Maybe a few tweaks to the algorithm or the inputs, and maybe some holdback of seats. Again, things you could already be doing. But and pre-K and K to 8, I think those are great ideas. But again, you could do those under any of the other scenarios too. So I'm not up here saying that I think that, I really love scenario 4, and I mean, I hated the other ones with the disruption, and I don't necessarily hate scenario 4. But if you break it down to what you said the community was asking you for was a change to the assignment model, scenario 4 doesn't make any change to that you couldn't already have done. And you pitted it against the cluster, which Dr. Boozer said she actually really liked it. And in my focus group, at least, Karen brought up, well, what if we phased in clusters? You didn't even lay that out as pit this against a phased in anything. I don't care if it's clusters, but it was just you gave us scenario 4 versus still chaos that you already knew we hated. And now there's no more option for us to weigh in. We can email you guys questions, or whatever, but there's no scenario or there's no survey. There's nothing, there's no further feedback from us. And I just feel like for you to sit there and say that you really got, how we're ending up in the same place. But are we really?
Thank you. Molly Neeson.
Hi. So as someone who's done some consulting work myself and sat in a lot of presentations by consultants, one of the most important parts of consulting work is defining the problem. And typically, some of the best consultants from Amazon, for example, will spend more than half of the presentation teasing out and going over the problem so that everybody in the room is on the same page. Because if we don't know what the problem is, right, how are we going to solve it? And as I see it, that was sort of the issue all along, is that the problem wasn't defined. I mean, it started out a need to balance SES and ultimately desegregate schools. And I think that that's, a great goal. And the scenarios address that to some extent. And then in December, it seemed to suddenly evolve into a conversation about transportation efficiency. There was a transportation crisis. We have to now reimburse parents for transportation. And in fact, it sort of seemed as if the initial scenarios were in large part about transportation efficiency. And maybe SES was sort of a side goal or they were equal goals. Again, it was unclear. And then now middle schools and middle school capacity has suddenly come up as the major problem that we're solving for. And I mean, I sort of feel bad for Cooperative Strategies in a way because I'm not sure that they've understood the problem, but the onus is on them as consultants to make sure that they understand it and to make sure that it's clearly defined. And I see that as a major problem with this and why I think in many ways we need to go back, to the drawing board and very clearly define the problem. I went to every single meeting, every single public meeting since Cooperative Strategies first presented. I think the only board member I saw there was Dr. Baker. If others were there, then I apologize. And I know I never heard anybody say, gosh, I really wish I could get reimbursed for taking my kid to school. That will really help our education system. I didn't hear much about middle schools, the creation of a new middle school, or swapping middle schools or middle school capacity, but I get it, again, because the problem wasn't clearly defined. Nobody really knew what the subject of the meeting was. I think the people who came to the meetings thought that the conversation was about how to desegregate schools. And I see that one of the themes I heard over and over again is a lack of trust from the community to the Board of Education. And one way to solve that, and I think solve that tonight or at the next meeting, is for someone to have the courage to put up a motion to move public comment to the beginning so that we don't have these sleeping babies and moms here with kids at home. Please let the public and hear the public at the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia Bruno.
Good evening. Cynthia Bruno, and my comments tonight are about the school assignment process as well. I was surprised tonight to hear that there were going to be some additional aspects to Scenario 4, which was ultimately recommended. So those additional aspects being that 2 additional elementary schools would be changing where they feed into the middle school system. Throughout this process, I think we've been able to bring a lot of really important conversations into a broader community discussion. And most of those conversations, though, through this process have been focused on the elementary schools, because at the beginning, that was where most of the disruption lied. I wish at this point we would be able to have a similar robust conversation about what our middle schools are ultimately going to look like. At this point, as I understand it, there won't really be an organized way to gather public comment about the proposed middle school changes, and I believe that now what we're looking at is a very significant change in our middle schools. If there is going to be a mechanism to collect that input, and I urge there to be, I would really ask the district and the board to be very aggressive in the communication about what that looks like, about how people can participate, about how that will be quantified, and about whether that data will be released to the public as well regarding support for or against these proposed changes. I've been really happy that that data has come forward. I think that that's helped a lot of people understand where we as a community and as parents kind of lie in these decisions. And I would say that we can't stop that process now. The other question I have or comment I would make about this is scenario 4 has been recommended, but really what we're looking at is a new scenario. I think the changes to scenario 4 have been significant enough that it's unfair to call it scenario 4 in the public, because we haven't tested broad support for this particular scenario, which also includes changing the middle school feeder system more drastically than the public was originally allowed to comment on or give input to. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bruno. Kyle Kirchhoff? This is the only cards I have, so if anybody else wants to speak, send me a card.
Kyle Kirchhoffer. Just a couple things as sitting back there. And so I've been up here before, and I'm a straightforward person, and there's not a dislike towards a board or staff. Me sending in 9 FOIAs from a law firm in Chicago is not me disliking you. It's trying to get to the bottom of things. What I want to explain and what I want to understand is that I do feel like what he said that hit the hardest, and I talked with him multiple times, is that he said this brought something up in our community. This brought something up, and it brought up an opportunity, right? It brought up an opportunity where maybe there are parents in the community who care about our schools and care about what's going on at one school that weren't before. Balanced calendar none of my kids have done balanced calendar. I don't know anything about it, but I know if I was someone who had a kid at balanced calendar, had been teaching for 26 years, and somebody put something out 4 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden it was going to change, and there was no input other than 4 weeks, that's a little ridiculous. I get that there are timelines. I get that things need to get done, but I feel like the moment that we have is that it. You guys want the community behind you, right? You don't want the community. You don't want people here yelling. You want people excited about what's going on. I think there's a way here that whether it's called, number 4 or whatever else it is. Okay, so what are those changes? Why is the middle school being changed? At least help some of the parents understand, well, it really changes this part or that part. But it feels a little bit, as other people have shared, there's been a few things, and now at the end, all of a sudden balanced calendar comes up and middle schools come up, and it's not sure why. Again, at the end of the day, you guys will vote. Yes, there's public comment. In a couple weeks, the vote will already be decided before anybody stands up and says anything. And at that point then, when that vote's done, my job as a community member is to say, okay, how do I help? Okay, so this is the way the direction the board is going. These are elected officials. This is what they voted for. How do I get on board? I know that me and a lot of other people getting on board when it's a timeline or it's this is how the community involvement can happen, or this is the balanced calendar of people we talked about on how to transition it, that's more encouraging to people, and that's more exciting. And that's what I hope for in the community. I don't want us to look back on this and years later be like, man, remember when this and everybody's upset about that, and we got this magical 4th one, but it put in these things, and all of a sudden somebody's like, wait, I don't have a balanced calendar next year. I want it to be something that brings us together. I want it to be something that the parents and me, whose hearts have noticed things that I will admit I did not know were going on, and allow them to change me. And I also want public comment at the beginning.
Thank you, Mr. Kirchhoff. Those are all the cards I have. Okay. Thank you all. That'll move us to item 10, which is board member communications. Anyone? Ms. Vasquez?
I'm going to talk about Olympic record that got broken this past week. Nolan Miller is a senior at Central High School. He's a commit to the Ohio State. He was in my basement earlier this week. He said I better say the Ohio State. He broke the record of a 2012 Olympic gold medalist, Tyler McGill, with a 100 backstroke time of 50.91. Tyler held that record for 18 years. It stood at 51.12. This is the second pool record that Nolan has broken of that same Olympian. So I just want to make sure we are congratulating our incredible athletes, in particular our D1 commit, Nolan Miller, who is hands down one of the funniest kids I've ever met. And you wouldn't know he broke a Olympian's record when he walked up to my kitchen and said, "What do you got to eat?"
And you know, I have a picture of one of my youngest wearing, I think she's maybe 2, with I Heart Tyler McGill t-shirts. So, something to consider for Mr. Dolan.
I'm ready for my I Heart Tyler McGill and Nolan Miller
There we go.
t-shirt.
Anybody else? Dr. Baker?
I want to hold space tonight. One of the Rock Charter members lost her husband tonight, and so I want to make sure that one of the Rock Charter members lost her husband tonight, and just want to hold some space for her. Also want to thank a parent. I saw in the HR changes, we had a parent that stepped up to be the Edison volleyball coach. When there's requests, parents do step up, and so excited for that team, and glad that people are willing to still lean in. And then lastly, the website, I think I'm excited to see more of it. As my former boss, Dr. Steen Eichenberry would say, the interactivity is needed. He loved the interactivity, and so that homepage, I think, really sets it off. And so thank you for taking the time. It's a lot of work, and so excited to see how we continue to build on that. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll leave with one quote.
Oh, sorry.
I think Audre Lorde said it best. There's no thing as a single issue struggle because we do not live single issue lives.
When I didn't understand the first part, the Rock Committee? Okay, I'm sorry. Elizabeth?
I want to echo the first communication that we heard this evening about mentoring. You're talking about mentoring. It's National Mentoring Month. I am a mentor in the CU One-to-One program. I've been with my mentee for 1.5 years, and it has changed me. I feel like I am a more child-centric person in everything that I do, especially with my work on the board. And so it's an incredible opportunity for adults in our community. Nobody who wants to save or fix a child, children don't need fixing or saving. They need somebody to consistently show up for them, to listen to them, to play games with them, to make slime with them, to play pie face with them, to have fun with them, and to grow with them. So I really want to encourage any adult who wants to be an actual part of the solution, check out CU One-to-One Mentoring. And on that note, today is my mentee's birthday, so I want to wish her a very happy birthday. I hope you're in bed already, and I'll show you this video when I see you later this week. But I am so glad we are friends, and I can't wait to continue growing with you this year. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Chris?
Just piggybacking on that, check with your employer. I know the University of Illinois and certain departments facilitate mentoring. So I know there's other employers in the community that allow for that 1 hour to go and be with your mentee. I mean, it makes it almost a no-brainer to go do. So thank you to all those who do participate in the various programs that we have set up for that. And please do consider.
Thanks, Chris. Shout out to Kara Downs, a Centennial teacher who commented that she has created, from 2014 and 2015, she has students write letters to themselves, and she was mailing out a batch. And I just thought that was, what an incredible gift for our students that have been long gone from the district to receive such a gift from a teacher. And the Centennial crew, I know there was a pipe issue at Centennial, and not only did Centennial folks show up, but districts folks showed up, and families showed up. If I had known, I would have shown up. But it's amazing how many people turn out and support our schools in the middle of good things and bad things. And so it was shout out to everybody who showed up and supported Centennial in that process. That will move us to item 11, which is our report. Whom do we affect? Whom do we tell? We bought some buses this evening. We have administrative appointments, assistant director of transportation, and 2 assistant directors of Kids Plus. And what a fantastic presentation on our schools. Thank you, Dr. Boozer, and thank you, Dr. Fuller, and to Christian for coming. And wow, I mean, that just brought so much joy into the room. And I was at Edison, I caught part of my kids' game this evening, but the kids are back in the gym, and it was so exciting. And my husband leaned over and he goes, "There's kids back. That's why it's so," I'm like, yes, and it was exciting. So these spaces are filling back up with our children. Item 12 is future meetings, regular board meeting, January 23rd, and a regular board meeting, February 13th. We do not have a reason to go back into exec session. That'll move us to item 15. May I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
I'll second. Soteropoulos Armstrong. Tammy, you'll have to do a roll call.
Ms. Soteropoulos?
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Kleppel?
Yes.
Ms. Shannon?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all.